Blank check with Griffin and David. Blank check with Griffin and David. Don't know what to say or to expect. All you need to know is that the name of the show is Blank Check.
On this very night, 10 years ago, along this same stretch of road in a dense fog just like this, I saw the worst accident I ever seen. There was this sound, like a garbage truck dropped off the Empire State Building. And when they finally pulled the driver's body from the twisted, burning wreck, it looked like this! Ah! Yes, sir. The worst podcast I've ever seen.
That's right.
This is, in fact, the worst podcast you've ever seen. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. My name is Griffin Newman.
Hi, I'm David Sims.
This
Is this microphone different, Ben?
What do you mean?
I don't know. It feels different on my nose.
It's a different mic.
Yeah.
I have your mic.
Oh, weird. All right, cool.
And David also took your chair today.
He did.
All by accident. I didn't mean to do any of this.
It's the nice
This
chair
is
for the
less
engineer.
Spongy.
Yeah.
Because I kind of almost rest my nose on the mic, which is a little gross, I guess.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, why do you think he had to replace the mic?
No, he's got my...
Mike was lousy with boogers.
All right. What a great start to our new miniseries.
Hey.
All right.
Here's the parade.
Oh my God, a marching band.
New miniseries. New miniseries. Baton twirlers. Confetti cannons. Fireworks.
Oh my God, it's the Blank Check mascot.
Oh, it's Blanky. Hello, everybody.
I forgot about that.
It's me, Blanky. Or Checky.
This is new. We have a mascot
It's
now.
me, Checky.
Hey, Checky.
How are you? Welcome. I am here to
We've never done
officially
this bit before, right?
christen a new miniseries.
What does he look like, Griffin?
He's a little angry Czech. He's got a director's megaphone.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Yes.
Perfect.
It's got
Hello.
a beret.
Hello,
Checky?
boys.
Yeah, it has to be Checky.
Oh, Checky has taken out a giant sword and he is tapping it on our shoulders. Guys, kneel. Take a knee.
Okay.
All right.
I hereby christen the beginning of a new miniseries.
How much are we paying this guy?
That's 15% of ad revenue.
What the hell? Was I not here for this negotiation?
Let Podward Scissorcast commence.
There you go. That's right. That's right.
As Checky says, so goes the nation.
Strap in. 4 months, baby.
And Checky has left the studio. He will be on every episode from here on out.
He definitely won't be. We've already recorded some.
Checky's big, and we already paid Joe Bowen to design Checky.
That's true.
Yes, we've been sitting on the design for a while. We're building a media empire, baby. My name is Griffin Newman. I already said it four times, but I'm going to say it a fifth.
David Sims.
This is Blank Check with Griffin and David, a podcast about Checky, a lovable new mascot who's
No,
sweeping the
that's not
nation.
what it's about.
It's about filmographies,
There we
directors who have massive success early on in their career, given a series of blank checks to make whatever crazy passion projects they want. And sometimes those checks clear, and sometimes they bounce, baby. Just like Checky, buy your Checky rubber bouncing balls.
Okay.
Available now at Toys R Us. I swear to God, go to any Toys R Us location, and you're going to find they're filled with Checky merchandise. And if your Toys R Us is closed, I don't know what to tell you. Bad luck. This is a miniseries I've been pushing for a long time.
Yeah.
You had shown a lot of resistance.
Disinterest. That's how I would put it.
Right. I think you categorize it as some Griffin bullshit.
I think I saw the threat of Griffin bullshit.
Where this would go.
Right.
And your complaint was always, it's going to be
This is my actual complaint.
8 or 9 movies we both like.
Yeah.
And then the second half of the miniseries is me
It'll
going to
be
be
you
saying,
being like, well,
actually,
and me being like, I didn't think it was very good.
making half-hearted defenses.
I didn't like it.
It's actually kind of interesting. But this is, we're starting in the golden era because this guy hits the ground running
He does.
and kind of takes Hollywood by storm in a way that I would argue is a little unprecedented. I would argue he's sort of a very unique phenomenon in Hollywood in that he is a comedy director. I think people lose track of that as time goes on because he gets a little lost from the plot.
Well, also he made a superhero movie early, which,
Yes.
sort of like different genre.
But he's a comedy director who comes out of animation and has a very, very distinctive style.
True.
and immediately is successful. Is making very personal, esoteric films on a big studio level, and they work and they're commercial.
True.
And he is that weird phenomenon where, like, he's this weird bouillabaisse of all his cultural influences growing up. A lot of weird, pulpy, trashy stuff.
Sure.
And he made these things very mainstream, even though people didn't have the reference base for the stuff that he grew up on.
Yeah. Okay.
Which
some people did.
Which I think is like a weird phenomenon.
Sure.
And you compare him within the realm of directors like this to like someone like Edgar Wright, where it took like 5 movies for one of his films to be successful.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I guess so.
The fact that like Burton like hit so quickly. This was like a big cult surprise success.
In terms of our blank check arc, you are correct. Yes. He like got a blank check fast.
And everyone kind of went like, oh, I get this thing, this Tim Burton thing.
Mm-hmm.
He's a guy I grew up idolizing. He's my favorite director. And I've said, I think in previous miniseries.
He's still your favorite director?
He was my favorite director
right.
for a very long time. I said in previous miniseries, I think for a lot of people of our generation, people grew up with Tim Burton because he's like,
he's one of the first directors
he's a
you
starter
recognize.
kit auteur, where you're like, I get that these movies are all made by one person.
Exactly. It really is that for our generation.
In terms of theme, in terms of aesthetics, in terms of sensibility, tone, you know, all of that sort of stuff. And he comes from a background that I'm obviously fascinated by, which is that he was a CalArts animation guy.
You said his name?
His name is Timothy Burton.
Timothy Walter Burton.
The miniseries is called Podward Scissorcast, and buckle in because we're doing all.
Buckle in because he made a lot of movies. Now, we're not doing the animated movies on the main feed.
Winky, winky.
Right.
Winky, winky.
That's all I'll say about that,
Winky,
I guess.
winky.
Yes. It'll be December, Ben. We'll be, Okay.
Ben is reluctantly nodding his head. Tim Burton, we often try to give like some background on where these directors came from before they got big. But the thing with Tim Burton is, I think everyone knows what Tim Burton's backstory is because it's what you extrapolate from watching his movies.
I don't know his backstory except, as you say, right. When it is described to me, I'm like, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
He grew up in like Burbank.
Yeah, from
Suburban
California.
Parents, couldn't connect to. He was a weird, dark kid.
Sure.
He was obsessed with TV.
And like stop motion little animations.
Made a lot of monster movies in his backyard. Made a lot of stop motion. My girlfriend, Humblebrag, was saying...
Humblebrag?
No, I said it first. Was saying how many short films she was surprised he had made because he has like 20 short film credits on IMDb.
But
and
he was like a teenager.
People have listed every like film he made as a kid because I knew all those fucking titles because I've read every book on him.
It's similar to Spielberg. Because, Spielberg as a teen would make those Super 8 movies and people will like talk about them as real things.
The difference is that like Spielberg and those movie brats grew up on like the sort of the school of cinema, of like high art cinema. And they talk about like they got into world cinema at a young age, but they also were studying Hitchcock and they were studying Howard Hawks and John Ford and Orson Welles. And Tim
Burton is like sort of like 10, maybe 12 years younger than Spielberg.
Right.
So there's like a decade removed there.
So he's like the start of the generation of the people growing up on the movies made by the movie brats. To some degree.
Before that, though, he has television.
That's a huge
very big presence in his house, probably less so with Spielberg as a kid. Like, I'm sure Spielberg watched TV, but it was like very early TV.
With TV, you get an onslaught of non-curated media. Just here's a ton of shit.
Yeah.
And he is, by all accounts, like an omnivore. And it's like he's watching martial arts films, and he's watching monster movies, and he's watching Roger Cormansley's, genre pictures, and he's watching blaxploitation films, and he's watching old sitcoms. And he sort of feels like a guy who isn't a student of film as much as he's like a student of pop culture.
Right.
Because you watch like Pee-wee's Big Adventure and like this is a movie about like pop culture.
Sure.
Right.
Like
he's just synthesized all of these things into his being and all his weird hang-ups and his aesthetic obsessions and all of that. Makes all these films in his backyard. Is really good visual artist and goes to CalArts to become an animator. And is contemporaries with all the Pixar guys. Is classmates. I mean, there's a class photo you can find of the A113 class where he's there with Brad Bird and John Lasseter putting his hands on everyone's legs and Musker and Clemens and all these guys, right?
Sure.
And they all pretty much go to Disney because at that point, CalArts is just a pipeline for Disney. There are very few other places animators
where
can
else
get hired.
You can animate. Right.
Hanna-Barbera is kind of like dwindling. If you're doing like real serious feature animation, Disney's pretty much your one-stop shopping.
Right.
But this is the nadir of Disney animation. The period of time where Brad Bird is so angry about how shitty Disney is that he gets himself fired because he was so difficult.
He worked on like
Fox and the Hound,
Black Cauldron.
Right.
Apparently he worked on Tron.
Yes.
But it was all concept art that like wouldn't make it into the movie.
Or he would do like in-betweening, like he would animate like a shot or two. Because all those CalArts guys, they have their distinctive style, but you also learn how to like just replicate whatever the thing is. So there's like a shot or two that I think he did in Fox and the Hound, and they were like, this guy's too fucking, he can't make the normal shots.
Right.
You know?
Okay.
One could say they were too twisted.
Well, that I was actually going to say, like, he is almost a parody of that. Like, where it's like, you know, like, like Brad Bird draws a person, right? And it's like a regular person. And then like Tim Burton starts drawing and you hear like a weird little piano. It's like do do do, and like the person has like big eyes or skull head.
I was gonna say it takes him 5 seconds to draw the head, but he spends 2 hours drawing the circles around the eyes. Every Tim Burton drawing looks sort of traumatized, and he was able to do it, but they were just kind of like, this guy's interesting. He's clearly a good artist. He's got a unique sensibility. He's not fitting in with this. So they were like, Dark Cauldron, that was like Disney's attempt at doing like a Black Cauldron, doing like a darker fantasy sort of monster movie. And they were like, this is okay. He's going to fit into this. He'll do monster designs for us. And then they were like, too twisted. We don't know what to do with him. So after a little while, because it was just like you get all the animators there, it's not like they're going to fire him and let him go somewhere else. There's not a DreamWorks or something to go to.
Sure.
They were like, we're just going to give you money. Make something.
Okay, so they knew he was talented.
They did. And at that point, even when Disney was at like a low point, it still was kind of a talent incubator to develop voices, right? He was pitching them features. He was coming up with concepts. And they were like, we can't make this. We can't make this. Nightmare Before Christmas was one of them at that point in time.
Sure.
So they give him a little money to make a short film called Vincent, which is phenomenal. You can find it on YouTube.
It's like 3 minutes long, right? It's a little thing.
It's so good. And it's
6 minutes long.
It's just like, it is the ultimate urtext. It is black and white.
It's about like a little boy
who lives in Burbank.
Right.
And his life is totally normal. He lives in a very sweet place with nice parents, and he can't stop fantasizing about being in a gothic horror film.
Right.
He wants to be Vincent Price. He's like crying over his dead wife, and his mom keeps on interrupting him, telling him to take out the garbage.
Funny.
It's so visually striking. It's like very influenced by German Expressionist films. It's stark black and white. It's these insane angles and these amazing transitions. The transitions from reality to fantasy are great. And that sort of puts him on the map. And they go, ooh, this guy's a really good director. Put aside his artistic sensibility and all of that, this is like got a really good visual language to it. And I think a big thing with Tim Burton is because he comes out of animation, and because with animation student films, they're very often non-sync sound, because that's very hard to do at a student film level.
Okay.
If you're in a live-action film school, you can make a short film with a bunch of dialogue, even with 16 millimeter, Super 16 or whatever, right?
Right.
But in animation, because it's so hard to do, you maybe get one line of dialogue and a little bit of sound effects. You really learn visual storytelling, shot sequencing. You can't rely on dialogue.
Right.
Right? And for a guy who's as stylish as he is, especially with these early films, he's not manic. There's a very sort of deliberate shot sequencing and structure to these scenes. He understands the comedy of gesture and language and all of that, right? So Disney's so impressed with that they give him some money to make a live action short film. They're still in this thing of every year they'll re-release one of the old Disney films from the vault because VHS is still pretty nascent, right? Mm-hmm. So Pinocchio's back on the big screen.
They need a short film.
They're re-releasing Pinocchio. All those movies are like an hour long.
They are.
Right. So they were like, let's give him some money to make a short film.
Yeah.
And he makes Frankenweenie. And they look at it. It stars Shelley Duvall and Daniel Stern. It slaps so fucking hard.
Fucks and slaps, huh?
And they're like, this is too twisted. So they pull it.
It's kind of long, too, right?
It's like half an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also exquisite. Just an excellent film. And they're like, oh, this guy's got some facility with live action. But
You're exquisite. I was getting a
Thank
bottle
you.
of water.
I'm much appreciated. Can you get me one as well? I'm getting parched. Sucking Tim Burton's dick.
Yeah, seriously.
I need to salivate. So they don't release this film. But in this early era of like, here, we got the VHS tape and it makes the rounds, it starts traveling around Hollywood.
Okay.
And people are really impressed by this tape. So he starts getting thrown into all these meetings. And he gets offered and then hired to direct the film After Hours.
Yeah, I knew that. The film that Scorsese made.
Yes. That's supposed to be his debut film.
Right. I like that movie.
That movie
great movie.
rules.
And I actually haven't gotten to see the whole thing. I just like randomly caught it late night on like HBO or something.
Your pal Griffin.
Griffin Dunn, my namesake.
Right.
Not really, but he's a friend. We'll hopefully have him on the podcast someday. But love that movie. I think it's one of the best New York movies ever made. Wouldn't say it's objectively the best. It is definitely my favorite Scorsese movie.
It's also a decent punk movie.
Okay.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
It's an amazing
After Hours
Soho
rules.
movie.
It's great.
It's so good. But Griffin Dunn was producing his own films at that time. And he had the meeting with him. He said Tim Burton came in, he built a model, and he showed how he's going to build all the sets with these like forced perspective and everything. He was like 100% on board with it. They were doing the film. They were like prepping it, not an act of pre-production, but like, development and everything. I think starting to assemble like, their key crew.
Uh-huh.
Scorsese was burned post Last Temptation of Christ.
Yeah.
And was like, I need to get back on the horse. I need to make a movie. I need to make something small. Just make something, get it out of my system. And that script he got wind of, and he was like, I would love to make this. And Griffin Dunn was...
No, you got it flopped around. He hasn't done Last
he's
Temptation
trying
yet.
to get it
Yeah,
made.
yeah.
He's so
Last
stressed
Temptation
out.
is the
That's what
late
it was.
80s, yeah.
He was stressed out trying to get that movie made. He was in like year 3.
It was
trying to push
Paramount had canceled it, I think.
Yes.
So he was like you say,
I need to make something. He reads the script. Griffin Dunn was like, hey, look, I'm blown away. I'm touched, but we got this guy, Tim Burton. And Tim Burton goes, I'll step aside. If Scorsese wants to make the movie, I'll make it. But I think that also gives him even more mythology around him.
Sure.
So now we go to the parallel track, which is Paul Reubens.
Yep.
Paul Reubens is a Groundlings guy.
Yep.
He's in the same class as Jan Hooks, as Phil Hartman.
These guys they're in this movie.
John Paragon, these people who end up on PBS Playhouse as well.
And Groundlings is like, what is it? How is it related to I.O. and Second City and stuff?
Groundlings was the West Coast equivalent of Second City. It was started by Lorraine Newman.
Sure.
Not her solely, but she was in the original group. It was an L.A. sketch comedy.
Gary Austin, I believe, was
theater.
the founder. Yeah.
And it becomes like, I.O. And Second City in Chicago. Later, UCB in New York. The L.A. incubator.
Okay.
And
these people had trained under Del Close. And then
half of the. I
think they weren't Del Close.
They weren't.
Okay.
Yeah,
no, I don't know who their guru was.
Well, it's this guy Gary Austin from The Committee, like the famous
that's
San
what it was.
Francisco
It's The
guy.
Committee.
Yeah. And half of them are plucked for the original SNL cast. It's the Groundlings. Come on, people know the Groundlings.
But so it becomes one of those places like Second City where if Lorne Michaels is scouting for talent, he's going to the Groundlings once a year to see who their best people are.
Right.
And when the 1979 season of SNL is wrapping up, Lorne Michaels is stepping away, Gene Domanian is taking over, they're going to put together the 1980 cast. Paul Reubens is heavily in contention. Goes through all auditions, goes through the test, is the last guy cut, doesn't make it. And he is like really burned and bitter about the whole thing. And he told this story. He was on Comedy Bang Bang and he was great talking about the origins of Pee Wee Herman. Look up that episode. I'm sure it's behind 17 paywalls. But
it's on Stitcher or whatever, right? I don't know.
It's on Howl.fm.
Right.
You got to buy a Victrola and then they'll send it to you. It's the 45 of the month club.
Yeah, it's on 8-track.
Yeah.
You're so frustrated.
I'm furious.
Why are
David,
you mad?
Because I cannot get over how much I like Brooklynn's products.
I know that it took you aback. It takes everyone aback just how good it is.
You don't get it. No one gets it.
I've been there.
You haven't.
Well, okay.
Because look, they offered us free samples, right? Because we were sponsoring them on the show. They were sponsoring the show, right?
Yeah, they wanted you to experience the 5-star hotel sheets that are inexpensive and given like straight to the customer.
Which was very kind of them.
Right.
And I took a long time to cash in that offer because...
Yeah, you're a useless person.
Right. And I finally did, and I loved them. I'm getting the best sleeps of my life.
For the listener, Griffin is red in the face.
Ah!
Oh my God.
You don't get it, David. I like the product so much, I went back and ordered more.
So you got your free, your Brooklyn and sample, but you're saying you then were so entranced by these sheets that
I tried to tell the listener, look, I'm not lying. I love this product. I want people to get it. And they went, oh, you're in your ivory tower with your free podcast products. You don't know what it's really like to make a transaction and have the thing awry. So I put my money down on the barrel. I took the ad sales money they're giving us and spent it right back on more Brooklyn's because I love it.
And also because they like work directly with manufacturers and customers with no middlemen, so they can give you quality sheets that are affordable and easy to order.
Yes, obviously.
And their sheets don't just feel amazing, but they look great, so you can mix and match and have 20 different colors and patterns to choose from.
We all know this, David.
I mean, they're certainly the best, most comfortable sheets that I've ever slept on. So it's time for everyone else to upgrade.
My girlfriend was in my bed and she was like, these Brooklyn and sheets are nice.
Triple humble brag. Girlfriend in bed, Brooklinen.
And she said, but look, maybe if you want to be an adult, you should get a comforter and some more pillows.
Fair.
So then I went to
did
Brooklyn
you just
and I ordered them.
All right, look. Blank check offer coming up.
They offer so much. I thought it was just sheets and
Stop
stuff.
yelling so I can do the offer.
Oh, Griffin. Smack me in the face.
He hit you with the palm of his hand. All right. Brooklinen.com. You can get $20 off and free.
Don't start a fire. Hey, the studio's on fire.
I don't care. I don't care. I'm going to read this copy. You can get $20 off and free shipping when you use promo code CHECK at brooklinen.com.
Burned the fucking studio, Griffin.
No one understands
so
me.
Confident in their product that all their sheets, comforters, and towels come with a lifetime warranty. That's the only way to get the $20 and free shipping is to use promo code CHECK at brooklinen.com.
The shipping is so free.
It's very free. That's BROOKLINEN.com, promo code CHECK.
I should also mention that at the end they ask you how you found out about Brooklyn, and you should say that it was because of Blank Check with Griffin and David. But he was like, walking after, getting the call that he didn't make the cut. At that point, you go 1980 SNL. Everyone who's been on SNL permeated the culture in such a gross way that you're just like, everyone who's on the cast of SNL is going to be humongous.
Right.
And then, of course, that's the doom season where like they fire everyone other than Eddie Murphy and Joe Piscopo. Right. And Eddie Murphy saves the show from being canceled.
Sure.
Right. Everyone gets fired.
Yeah.
Gilbert Gottfried.
Yeah.
Denny Gordon.
Keep going.
I don't know how many. Matthias? What was her name?
Julia Louise.
She comes in after that.
Oh, okay.
When they go to, they were called the Gap. What were they called?
Anne Risley.
Yeah. Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Denny Dillon.
I said Denny Gordon, who's the director.
It doesn't matter.
Whatever. Who cares? Who gives a shit?
Who could possibly care about this?
So Paul Reubens is like, fuck it. I don't need SNL. I'm going to make my own luck.
Yeah.
And they were doing a Groundling show where the bit was the worst stand-up comedians.
Yes.
And he creates this character who's this weird guy. Who's
trying to be a stand-up and obviously sucks at it.
Right.
That's the joke.
Right. But he comes up with the visual look,
right,
with the voice, and with a couple of the catchphrases.
Mm-hmm.
I know where you are, but what am I? Right.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. But what's interesting about Pee Wee Herman is there is no game inherent to him.
No.
Unlike most sketch characters.
Almost what's so baffling about him if you've
Correct.
never seen him before. Like, you're like, but what's the bit with this? Like, what's the joke?
He's not making fun of a type of person we know because there's no one like him.
No, not really.
There's no game inherent to him. And even you go like Wayne's World, which is like the other most successful sketch to movie adaptation, right? I'd say
sure.
Wayne's World, Pee-wee kind of counts as a sketch thing, and Blues Brothers.
Right.
Blues Brothers is like, okay, there's an art form central to this. It's performance. The Blues Brothers never spoke in their sketch. It's easy to build a movie around that. Wayne's World, what's great about them is the characters are a circumstance. It's a type of person. Because it's based in reality, you can write the human versions of them. It's an environment. It's not like making a Stefan movie where, like, how's he going to have any dialogue that isn't him listing things? Yeah. Stefan is so baked into the game. Yeah. Pee-wee is just like, who the fuck is this guy?
Right.
But it kills at this one Groundling show, and he decides, I'm going to build a Pee Wee Herman show. I'm going to do, like, an old 50s style TV show as a live Groundling stage show as Pee Wee Herman. It'll be like a Howdy Doody kind of thing. And so he makes something called the Pee Wee Herman Show, which blows up.
It was on HBO.
Well, that
like
happens
the early
later.
days of HBO, right?
They do it at the Groundlings. It blows up. It becomes a phenomenon. They move it to the Roxy Theater. It does an extended run. HBO films it, airs it like one of their HBO comedy specials.
Yeah.
That's huge. And then Pee-wee just becomes a public figure. Like, Pee-wee starts going on Letterman.
Right.
And
he was in a Cheech and Chong movie?
Yes. But it's like as Pee-wee. It's not Paul Reubens.
Right.
It's like,
He didn't do an interview as Paul Reubens
Never.
until Mystery Men.
Correct. Which is insane.
Yeah. But I think it also ruined his life. in a weird way.
I think it's a complicated issue.
I think it ruined his life.
But he clearly loves the character. I mean, he brought it back for his whole wave and everything.
I know, but he's... Yeah.
Yes. It becomes hard to... people thought that was his real name. It became one of those things like Bobcat Goldthwait or like, where it's like, where is the separation here?
Okay, so apparently my impression of someone sounds like Bobcat Goldthwait. Now I can't remember who. Everyone was tweeting this at me.
Fuck. It was in the holiday episode, wasn't it? Oh, they said
was
your
it my
Eli Wallach sounded like
my day. Is that what he... I don't know what Bobcat sounds like.
It's Venom. Fucker.
Oh, Venom sounds
Venom.
like Bobcat.
It's my Venom. See, I don't really remember what I was doing for that. Aches and pains.
Yeah, that sounds like Bobcat.
Okay.
I'm trying to find this Letterman quote.
With that character.
What, me as Venom, but it sounds like Bobcat? That's the character? Where I'm like, now I'll do Venom, and I do it, and then I'm like, so who's that sound like? And the audience is like, Bobcat Goldthwait!
Oh, yeah, you got to do call and response.
Right.
I'm trying to find this. This is the Letterman quote. Because Letterman at this time would find a lot of oddball people.
Right, because
like
Letterman's
Harvey
right
P.
at the start of his... Yeah,
right.
Of course. Yeah.
And this became like an oddball character. And David Letterman said, what makes me laugh about Pee Wee Herman is that it has the external structure of a bratty little precocious kid, but you know it's being controlled by the incubus, the manifestation of evil itself.
I've seen that quote. It's very funny.
Where I was like, that's the best distillation I've heard of the Pee Wee Herman thing. The closest thing to what he's referencing culturally is just a little boy who's very amused with himself.
Sure.
Like Pee Wee Herman is kind of problem child.
He's a little stinker.
But in the body of an adult.
Right, but then why is it different? And this is a crucial question for Blank Check from Clifford.
Yes.
What makes Pee Wee Herman work and Clifford is sort of unspeakable?
In terms of like cultural
but I don't even mean that. Yeah. In terms of like you can't stand Clifford, which obviously is part of the point.
Everyone can't stand Clifford. I love Clifford.
I know you love Clifford. Whereas like Pee Wee, you're not really mad at Pee Wee.
No, Pee Wee walks a tightrope, and watching it now.
I mean, obviously he's not malevolent, really. Like,
but he does feel evil. That's the weird thing. I mean,
he doesn't feel evil to me. I love the Letterman quote, but he doesn't feel evil. I think he
feels a little evil to me. I think I read that and I realized, like, oh, that's the weird edge the character had. He doesn't
feel evil.
Behave poorly, but he is kind of a little stinker. I do think there's a sinister edge to him in a way where it's like the little kid where you're like, don't touch that. Don't touch that. And the kid's giving you the sly grin.
But like he's very delightful, and this movie is very delightful.
His enthusiasm is infectious. The other thing that works so well in this movie, and I think this is what happened culturally with Pee Wee Herman, is that everyone just loves him.
Yeah. It's the look. It's something about the look,
but it shouldn't be. It should be fucking creepy.
It should, but it's just like
the rosy cheeks and he shaved like six times.
The little bow tie and the
in the Pee Wee Herman show, which is like a lot bawdier.
Sure,
it's more sexual. It's a parody of it's like this is a sinister sort of like Gen X version of.
Well, that's the thing, though. Right. That's initially what it is. It's
of a
this,
weird asexual
Gen
children's
X thing,
right?
And then Tim Burton, who is a warped Gen X guy, takes it, but then he turns it into this sort of like thing that can appeal to children, but also like college kids,
right?
But that's crazy.
It makes no sense. And even you go like when people like do like, oh, I do a good Pee Wee Herman impression. It's like in order to do a good Pee Wee Herman impression, you need to do 3 impressions well because he has 3 different voices he switches between.
He does.
Like that's what's crazy about how inconsistent the character is.
Like when I was
like he's got like the nasally one, and he's got the one that's like you know, like,
and he switches between them with no real reason. Like it's just sort of how he talks.
Yeah,
he's funny.
Everything
Why
about
is he so funny?
But it like doesn't. And I was just trying to like watch the movie last night and try to make sense of this because like Pee Wee Herman is so foundational to me in terms of everything I find funny, all the different mediums he worked in. And I was watching this and I was like, what is the thing I connect with here?
So I watched
what was I connecting with when I was 5? What am I connecting with now?
I don't understand. I watched this with my girlfriend Humble Wreck, who has no like concept of this person. She had heard the name Pee Wee Herman. And she had heard that there was later a scandal involving the actor who played Pee Wee Herman that had sort of soured him in the brain of the people. I don't know. Right. And we're watching it, and I'm so delighted by the movie, but I really can't explain it.
No.
Like, I really can't be like, but you see, because, like, you see, this is what he's getting at. I can't say that.
Now, Mr. Bean.
Yes.
a character that is very similar.
But Mr. Bean
in a
is
few different ways.
He's slapstick. Like, he is a classic clown.
Yes.
Like,
Right.
that's like, he's like Monsieur Hulot or whatever. Like,
he has
is like
sort of a game. It's like, this is how
Right.
Bean is going to react to things.
Right.
Like,
And
you
he-
see him with a turkey and you're like, how's he going to fuck this up? You know, like, that's the bit.
You know what's funny is when he draws the little face on the painting.
So funny.
But he also is just odd. That's the game.
Yes, he is.
He's
You're right.
just
You're right.
the
Mr.
odd
Bean is not
guy
like a
in the
person.
neighborhood.
It's not like you're like, oh, everyone knows a Mr. Bean type. Like,
Right.
right.
But that's, I think the difference with Pee-wee is that Pee-wee isn't clean like that. Like, Bean is like so laser
clean,
focused on like, this
Barely
is
talks.
the type of
Right.
weirdo he is. Even if no one's like this, it's all consistent behavior. He's going to fuck up in relation to anything he comes across.
Right.
And Pee-wee is like sometimes very high status, sometimes very low status. Everyone accepts him. You know, like in this movie, the way they world build around Pee-wee, and there are two other Pee-wee movies, and neither of them totally work.
So I've never seen Big Top Pee-wee or the more recent one.
Neither
the
one
Netflix
is
one.
bad,
Sure.
but they just kind of don't. They're a little laden, and it makes you realize what a precise pitch this thing is, because like Big Top Pee-wee is directed by what's his name, Ronald Kessler,
Yeah, Randall Keisler.
Right, who
Randall
was the
Keisler,
director of
the
Grease.
And yeah.
and it's a little too grounded.
Right.
He joins the circus. It has ridiculous creatures, but it's a little too.
Kleiser. Yeah,
Sorry.
you're no, I'm sorry.
And then the third one, Pee-wee's Holiday, which is the recent one for Netflix, was directed by the guy who directed most of Wonder Shows and directs a lot of comedy TV, and it's a little too weird.
Right, but that was sort of doomed by, it's made by people who love Pee-wee,
Yes.
right? Like, you know, it's like
Paul Rusk co-wrote it with him, and
like
Apatow produced it because he
right,
loved
and they're
Pee-wee,
just like,
yeah.
we love
Do another
like
thing.
do it, yes, please, like bring it back. You know?
Because throughout the 90s and 2000s, he had said he was working on two other scripts and he wanted to make a third Pee-wee movie. And the two scripts were, one of them was Pee-wee's Playhouse, the movie. He wanted to make an adaptation of the TV show that was like a road trip movie with Jambi and Globey and, you know, Terry and all the great characters, right? Sure. Magic Screen, Conky, Need I Go On? And then the third one was the Pee-wee Herman story, which I think was a really fun idea, which was he was going to make the serious biopic of Pee-wee Herman's rise to power. He was going to play Pee-wee Herman, but it was going to be like, here's the real story
Sure.
of how he made it. Both movies sounded too weird to ever get made, but those were the films he really wanted to make. And then Judd Apatow was like, can you make another just like Pee-wee's Big Adventure?
Right.
Can
Judd
you, like-
Apatow quite possibly sort of saw like, oh, those things might not go over, especially since it's been a while since we've had Pee-wee.
But he was having this resurgence. He started doing
Right.
talk shows again. They
He
brought
came
back
back.
the show. They did
Yeah.
it on Broadway. He was appearing on TV a lot.
Well, and also
he did
like,
SNL. Like, that's the weirdest thing. You know, he hosted SNL in like 85,
right.
86 as Pee-wee Herman, and every sketch was like Pee-wee Herman in a different environment.
Right.
Like, it's not like he's playing Pee-wee playing characters. It was like, this sketch is Pee-wee in jail.
Such a weird.
So weird.
You know, I love Comedy Bang Bang, the show,
Yes.
which was obviously so heavily indebted, as I'm sure Scott Ackerman has said,
Has
like,
said,
to
Pee-wee is
to
one of
Pee-wee's
his
Playhouse and to
foundational
Pee-wee in
comedic-
general.
Yeah.
And he's someone who also does that thing where you're like, what is this? Am I on his side? I guess so.
Sometimes he's playing the
But sometimes
fool,
he's
but sometimes
right,
he's
right.
the asshole.
Yeah. It's weird.
It's hard to pin down, but I think it's a similar kind of vibe thing. But Burton builds this perfect world around him. I mean, the story just is Warner Brothers saw the Pee-wee thing catching on. This was a time where people still took flyers on things. I think especially post Cheech and Chong, it was like, you don't know where a comedy sensation is going to come from.
Sure.
The Letterman appearances were really big. He was so visually distinctive.
But it is still so weird to think about this guy's career arc as like improv guy,
yeah.
does a special,
Yeah.
does a movie,
Does like
does a
theater
children's TV show, like,
Yes.
you know what I mean, and like that's the arc up, like,
Well, and it's also, he does the movie, he does a children's TV show, then does the second movie,
Sure.
which takes place in its own reality. Like, every Pee-wee thing exists in its own, like,
Sure.
it's like the Madagascar franchise. But,
If I could, just really quick,
Mhm.
I did not watch Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Oh,
Loved
wow.
the movie, but I
Yes.
didn't grow up watching
Never watched
that.
it.
I was a little too old or too young for it or whatever. Yeah, they
But
missed
you
me.
know who was my dude?
Who?
Ernest.
Yes, Ernest is kind of a
I
similar
fuck with
phenomenon to
Ernest.
Pee-wee.
Well,
hard,
I mean,
okay?
J.D. Amato, of
J.D.
course.
Amato, the world's #1 leading Ernest scholar.
I didn't know that.
Oh, he goes
fucking
hard on
loves
Ernest.
Jim
Oh,
Varney.
I'm going to email JD about
He's
Ernest.
constantly asking us when we're going to do a Don Cherry miniseries. That's his name, right?
John Cherry. I
John
believe,
Cherry.
Yes.
Don Cherry, I think, is a hockey announcer.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I don't know much about Ernest. Like, I used to go to the video store and
Yeah.
I would see them all lined up and be like, what are these? Like,
Ernest was a local TV commercial character who did a lot of local TV commercials. They got big, then it became national commercials. Then they did a few like video specials, and then he became theatrical movies. But he had already had a Saturday morning cartoon show. There was a more natural sort of build to Ernest in a way. But it's a similar thing where it was like he was Ernest. Like Ernest was the thing. But Warner Brothers just goes, yeah, Pee-wee, make a movie. He brings on Phil Hartman, his buddy from the Groundlings. His original pitch was, I want to remake Pollyanna.
yeah, I know. That's crazy.
His idea was, let's just do other movies and have them star Pee-wee Herman. And he's apparently obsessed with Pollyanna. You know, Paul Reubens, very into kitschy shit.
Yeah.
And at some point, he said they were on the Warner Brothers lot. They were letting him start to develop the Pollyanna movie. He saw everyone on their bicycles.
This is so fucking stupid. It is hilarious, right? It's like Warner Brothers is like, okay, you can remake Pollyanna. And then he sees people on bicycles and he's like, what if I did like a thing about a bicycle? And they were like, sure, fine. You want to do a bicycle movie now?
But the beauty of the film is just how fucking simple the concept
Well,
is.
I agree. I think the Pollyanna remake is a bad idea.
Yes.
What he came up with is much smarter, which is like, do a sort of sketchy movie, like, you know, vignettes.
But you got one driving force.
And
the guy
the
has to find his bike.
And I believe that Pee-wee's upset about losing his bike. Whereas I might be freaked out if Pee-wee's upset about a more complicated thing.
Yes.
Like, I might not get
The
that.
bike feels like the right thing for him. And this movie, a thing I think it kills really hard is they really sell the stakes of how much the bike means to Pee-wee.
Right.
Where even in the grand scheme of things, you're like, it's a bike. For this character and his worldview, you're like, this is the ultimate challenge. And it's just a good sort of superstructure to hang the hat on. He said they bought like Sid Field's screenwriting book because they had never read a screenplay before. And they were just like, okay, here's the premise. He's got to find the bike. And they just followed it to the T. Like page 30, he loses it.
Right.
Page 60, he finds out where it is. You know, page 90, you end. It's 3-act structure, 30 pages per act, like to the T. That's what they did. And they bring on Burton because he liked Frankenweenie. And they make a movie that fucks.
He sees Frankenweenie and probably thinks like, right, this is
a match.
In the same zone that I'm playing.
The same references, the same sort of pitch of humor.
And they make this movie and it's inexplicably wonderful.
Right, it's just like an inside joke that everyone gets.
Right, like this movie
That's
should
the weird
be
Burton thing.
at best a curio.
Yes.
You know, where you're like, oh, it's Tim Burton's first movie, and look, he's got some visual ideas here, and Paul Reubens is doing his thing.
And
instead, it's like a very good film.
And it launches both of them to massive success.
It does. Of course, Reubens, his career is shorter.
But he has 6 big years after this.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Right, from 85, and then he jerks off in 91.
Yep.
Which it's kind of crazy to think he didn't jerk off for 6 full years. I mean, no wonder he had to burst.
This is what I'm saying is like,
theater.
it was the shock of that was, people could not handle that he was a person.
No.
With like sexual agency.
That's what kind of killed him. And also,
and they couldn't handle that he was like Paul Reubens. There was the mugshot where
the mugshot
was
like, terrible. He looked like a scumbum.
He looks like a scum. And then, even though all he was doing was jerking off to porn, which like, you know.
Can you think about how, I just had that moment watching the movie, thinking about the scandal, just going like, that's so crazy that we as a society, because computers didn't exist, we're like, okay, you have to go to a theater to watch porn and just don't masturbate. Wink, wink.
Right.
I'm just going to sit in a room with strangers in a dark theater and watch porn and then just try to keep it in my mind and then go home to my bathroom.
Right. I mean, whatever. You're right. That's insane.
It's a weird structure.
Sure. And then Pee-wee, but it was just right. And then you go back to watching the show and you're like, oh, he's creepy. Like, I guess was the arc that the country went through in 1991. It doesn't matter.
Especially because the character is kind of asexual. Pointedly in this movie, he's like revulsed every time Dottie tries to go on a date with him. Right. Paul Reubens has said that originally, like in the special, in the Pee-wee Herman
Dottie
show,
is cool though.
Dottie rules.
Dottie's awesome.
Voiced by...
played by
E.G. Daly, who's the voice of Tommy Pickles on Reubens.
And she sounds like Tommy.
Yeah.
In this movie, she sounds like Tommy. You're like, it's Tommy.
Baby's got to do it, baby's got to do it, baby.
Right.
But he, in the Pee-wee Herman show, he refers to himself as the luckiest boy in the world. Because I think at that point it was like, well, we're adults, we're doing a sketch show, I can pretend he's actually a child.
Right.
At a certain point, he decides that Pee-wee's an adult.
Right.
But he's sort of like a weird man.
Everyone in this movie is either a child or an adult, even though they're all adults.
Yes.
Like there's like the guy in the pool. I can never remember any of their names.
Francis is a child.
He's like a child man.
Right. Whereas like Simone is like a woman.
Right. And Dottie is kind of a child.
Yes.
And then the convict,
what's his name? Why am I forgetting? Mickey now.
Mickey
Yeah.
is kind of is like a man.
Right.
Like
These are the people who are hardened. But you have the people who are adults are like burned by the world. Like it weighs heavy on them. And then you have like Francis
it's one of those things
and
like,
Dottie.
it's a big world out there.
These people have like lost. They've loved and lost.
Sure.
And like Pee-wee and Dottie and Francis exist in like Dayglow bubbles, like surrounded by cereal and dogs and shit.
Right. Well, the movie begins it's so aggressive.
Even just from like black title screen and the Elfman score starts, and the Elfman score sounds like anarchy.
Right.
This is like, I think his first film score.
It is, because it was just the Tim Burton liked Oingo
Right.
Boingo.
It was this, and then he does Back to School.
It's true.
Yes. And the thing that like made Elfman so exciting at this time period was like he knew how to write a character theme better than anyone else.
Right.
Where you're like, this is the musical expression of Pee Wee Herman. It's not that this is the score for Pee Wee's Big Adventure. This is what Pee Wee Herman sounds like. And that like, dun, 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 like it's so chaotic. I remember watching this as a child when like the Rube Goldberg is making the breakfast and the music was so alarming. I was like, what's about to go wrong?
Right.
Like I couldn't imagine that the breakfast would be successfully executed because I was like, the house is going to catch on fire.
Like a pancake face.
Yes.
I don't know. What do you think, Ben?
I love Rube Goldberg machines.
Yeah.
Sure.
His dog Speck.
That's what I've always.
The dog's great.
I've always wanted one of those.
You get one.
Like this movie just launches you straight into the deep end of madness.
But that's the thing, and Joanna's just going like,
"What the fuck?
What's the thing? I don't get it. Like, what is this?"
Right?
Because he does the tape face, and they're like, "Oh, is why do you do that?" And I'm like, I don't know. He just does this shit.
I remember I keep on going back to this as a reference point because I think it is like the best sort of like counterpoint, the opposite end of how you do this thing of Wayne's World, which is like totally ground this thing. And I remember showing that to Romilly when she was young.
Wayne's World?
Yeah. And she was like, so what's the thing here?
Right.
And I was like, okay, so like in the 90s, like the genre of music, this is what these guys acted like. Yeah. I could explain it.
Right. Yeah. And in Wayne's World, it begins with Wayne being like, so I'm Wayne and I host a TV show in my basement. And you're like, right, like in the sketch.
I get it.
And
he's got
like,
dreams. He's a normal person.
I'm like a real person and we host the show and we're
kind of
some weird guys. And and that's the movie's about that. We're going to try and like make the show for real.
Right.
And Pee Wee Herman is like, I'm a fucking lunatic. I live in like a cartoon house in a cartoon town.
I have no job.
And God knows how any of this works. Yes. I wrap tape around my face in the morning and scream. And then I go outside and like water my lawn, and the neighbor has to close the window.
Everyone in town has just learned to live
like,
with
sure,
my peculiarity.
Go for it.
Oh, it's that time of day.
Maniac. And then he gets on his bike and bikes around. And
loves his bike. He's got his whole security system for the bike. Yeah. The bike does look rad.
Yeah, it's a cool bike. And you're like, I guess it's the 50s, but
nope.
Like not
it's
really.
Very much the 80s.
Yeah. And you're like, I guess he's a grown up. I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't really know.
He exists outside of like time and space. But the thing I love is how like everyone's pretty charmed by Pee Wee. Like within his town, they're just like, we understand how to behave. Like our society runs on Pee Wee. He's this weird like force of chaos that like somehow is the perpetual motion machine that keeps this town running. He goes to the magic shop. It's like his usual swing spree. The guy gets along with him so well. He goes to Chuck's bicycle shop. He sees Dottie. Dottie is madly in love with Pee Wee. Pee Wee is revolted by the idea of ever going on a date with somebody.
Right.
Paul Reubens had said originally his intention was to make Pee Wee like not only like asexual but also like agendered, and he wanted to be a question. Pee Wee was like an adult, a child, a man, a woman, which is what the things about me you couldn't understand, wouldn't understand, is like a reference to, although it's not literally something he's still holding on to in this movie, that idea.
Sure.
Because I think they make it pretty clear he is male.
Sure. I don't know. But I'd rather not think about it.
Yes.
Right. I don't want to think about him as a being.
That was the problem with the fucking masturbating.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
The weird note that people, I think, always get wrong is that they said, like, oh, the show was canceled because of the scandal. And he had ended the show over a year earlier.
Right. Yeah.
And he was like, I'm done with Pee Wee. I've hung it up. I need to, like, figure out what the next thing is and lay low for a little bit. And so then everyone sees this, like, headshot that looks totally different. Here's the story that's totally scuzzy. And then what happened was they took the repeats off out of syndication.
Sure.
He was part of a Disney World ride. They pulled that.
Well, and also he just vanished.
Yes.
He stopped doing things.
Right. He didn't really do movies again until like 99.
Because when I was 12 and Mystery Men's coming out or whatever. I didn't really know much about Pee Wee Herman. I guess that had all passed me by. And I remember reading like this big EW probably or Empire, one of those things, features about Mystery Men where like Janine Garofalo and Ben Stiller and all like
who are like the hip cool,
right? They're like fucking Paul Reubens, man. Like we didn't know how to behave around him. It's like he's such a legend.
He's doing a new character for the first time in 15 years,
right? And his character in Mystery Men is like arguably the worst of the Mystery Men. He's funny, but like
he's really broad. When
everyone else is insanely broad, and it's farting.
Yeah,
I mean, like he farts.
Yeah, you have to understand that.
My favorite character is the Blue Raja. The Blue Raja fucking rules. Blue Raja more like Great Raja.
I'm a Shoveler guy.
Shoveler's cool too. Shoveler is great.
I think that movie is so good.
We agree on it, and it's a great movie that's kind of poorly directed, but it doesn't matter. Like, still
Nathan
great.
Rabin had the best line about it, which is, Mystery Men looks more like Batman and Robin than any movie should ever look, including Batman and Robin, and yet somehow, in spite of that, it's still great.
I like Mystery Men. I haven't seen it.
The script is
Shoveler's
so
great.
good.
Shoveler's great.
All the
William H.
performances are
Macy.
great.
Yeah. Blue Raja's cool. He throws fork.
My parents said when they were together before I was born and through when I was pregnant, they were pregnant.
You were
when I was
pregnant?
When they were pregnant with me, they were like, but I think even before that, they were like, if we ever have a kid, he's going to watch Pee-wee's Playhouse. Like my parents would apparently watch Pee-wee's Playhouse together.
Right.
And which my parents are not as infantile as I am.
Right.
But they loved that show. And they were like, I hope we have a kid who watches this. So from the time I was born, which is like the tail end of him doing the show leading into the masturbation scandal, I was raised on Pee-wee's Playhouse.
So instead of playing Mozart, you were just absorbing in utero Pee-wee?
Yeah, and this is how that turned out. As if anything has ever explained me more. Yep. My parents were just like playing the Danny Elfman theme on a fucking cassette, like a Walkman on her belly. You know that thing they used to do where it's like you put the headphones on the belly?
Yeah.
Anyway, I was like very much raised on Pee-wee. When the show went off the air, we had the VHS tapes that we'd rent from across the street. I watched them over and over again. My understanding of Pee-wee was just this show. Didn't know there was a movie. Some older relative in our family, a great grandmother, great aunt or something, died. And I remember being 3 or 4, and we went upstate to where they were sitting Shiva. And I was like really impatient. I was like the only young kid there. And they were like, what if we like bring you upstairs and you watch a movie? James was maybe a baby, right?
Sure.
And they were like, what? Let's see what VHSs we have. And they were like, we have Pee-wee's Big Adventure. And I was like, there's a fucking Pee-wee movie? How did no one tell me about? There's a goddamn Pee-wee movie?
All right.
And they were like, it's not Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Right.
And I was like, what do you mean? I know what Pee-wee is. Put it on. Put it on immediately. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Right.
Where's Jambi? Where's Globy?
Right.
Where's the house?
Right.
Who is he? What's going on
They were right to warn you.
Weird about it. And then when it gets to the clown part, I literally run out of the room screaming.
I forgot about the clown. Yeah.
Terrified
Not for
me.
kids.
And I was like, that's not Pee-wee. Pee-wee would never do that to me. And didn't see this movie until like maybe I was 9 or 10.
Sure.
At which point, ABC Family, then Fox Family, had started replaying Pee-wee, and I started watching it again a lot. Then saw this movie. I was into Tim Burton at that point in time, and I think it was on Comedy Central or something, and was like, this is the fucking jam. Now I get it. I totally get it. And I'd seen other Burton movies, but now I was like, this is the one that I think made me all-consuming Burton obsessive.
Right.
Once I was able to string everything together.
Right.
So Francis is a shitty next-door neighbor.
Yep.
He
He's
wants
funny.
the bicycle.
He does that thing where he's like, regret this.
He wears monogram jumpsuits.
He's funny.
As does his father. They live in a gilded house. They're the Trumps.
Mark Holton is the actor.
Which I got that wrong in trivia. There was a photo, and it was from Teen Wolf, but I knew
Right,
it was Francis.
right.
Even though in the photo he's holding a
You were
newspaper
real
that says
bummed out
Teen
about
Wolf.
that. Right.
And you went, there's a fucking wolf there. Anyway.
Yeah, he played Gacy in John Wayne Gacy movie.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yep. It sure does.
The setup of the film is just super fucking simple. Francis wants the bike.
Yep.
Pee-wee loves
Doesn't
nothing
wanna
more
give
than
up
his
the
bike.
He's kind of mean about it.
Which I kind of like.
Yeah, me too.
Like,
He's a little stinker.
He's a little stinker. He really is kind of like an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
He's so rude to people so often.
When also in a way where you're like, what the fuck are you being rude to me for, you, like, non-person? Like,
Yeah.
what? You don't do anything.
Yeah,
like, what are you so
Pee-wee's like-
superior about?
That's what's interesting is that, like, this movie, like, in terms of the effect he has on people, positions Pee-wee as something of, like, a Paddington or an intern character.
Right.
Who, like, magically changes people's lives.
Right.
Except he's kind of, like, an asshole to everybody.
Right. He's annoying.
Right. And he's like very like sarcastic. He's very snarky. All he cares about is his bike. He chains the bike up to this clown while he's going shopping. He's already rejected Francis' offer with a lot of judgment. Yep. And he comes back up, and the clown is terrifying, and it's like crazy canted angles. And
he's
the
already
music
and Dottie is introduced, and he talks to Dottie, right?
Right. Dottie wants to go on a date with him. He like hates the notion.
He's a loser. He's a rebel.
Right. I'm a rebel Dottie.
Rebel Dottie.
Yeah. All these lines that are very quotable now. And sees the bike is missing, walks into Chuck's with the horn as his dying thing, and knocks over all the bikes.
That's funny. Makes me laugh.
And it's like, that's really well pitched stuff where it's like, you got to play the stakes high around Pee-wee. You know, like they play it like it's real high drama. Wakes up in the hospital, like, you know, with
loner
the EMTs.
rebel. Jesus Christ. It was taking me so long to figure that out.
As he passes out, the EMTs come in. They do a cut to him at the police office, and they go, so why do you think the Soviets are involved in this?
Funny.
Which is a really good joke, and also great that, like, the woman playing the cop is, like, playing it real straight against him.
They can't help him, though.
And Pee-wee just goes, like, maniacal, overdrive, conspiratorial.
Right.
Calls the entire town into his basement where he has 27 items of evidence and goes on this long thing recreating the scene of the crime. Maybe my favorite joke in all of Pee-wee's Big Adventure is you are only seeing the crowd from behind.
Okay.
He's like running through like Exhibit B, and he's like going over something. You hear someone whispering, and he goes, "Is there something you'd like to share with the rest of us, Amazing Larry?" And it just cuts to a middle-aged man with a day glow mohawk, and he shakes his head no.
Yeah.
And I, as a kid, was just like, the fact that they don't explain who Amazing Larry is the funniest fucking thing in the world. And when this movie finally came out on DVD, I remember Entertainment Weekly in their review of the DVD said, like, and we finally get the backstory of Amazing Larry on the deleted scenes. And I was like, day one, gotta buy it, Mom, Dad, take me to fucking Circuit City.
Okay.
And we bought the DVD, and there's a scene where when he goes to the magic shop, there's a much longer version where Amazing Larry is just a magician in town. And his business is bombing.
Right.
And Pee-wee's like, you got to get hip. You got to be like more like the kids. Do something trendy. Mix up your hair.
So
then the joke's supposed to be the next time you see him, he's gotten this ridiculous haircut, which is funny. But the joke of no explanation, the guy's name being Amazing Larry,
is way better.
Is hilarious.
Yep, I agree with you.
So everyone's like, Pee-wee, you got to chill the fuck out. He's despondent. He goes to Francis. Francis denies it. He wrestles him in a bathtub.
Yeah.
He gives them trick gum, so they start like...
The bathtub scene is the one, like, violent... It's the one time Pee-wee's, like, violent.
Yes.
Yeah. He really, like, goes for it. The bathtub seems good, though.
I like that he's having, like...
Whatever it is. Pool.
A
whatever
full,
it is.
like, psychotic break about the bike.
Right.
And despondent, out of options...
Visits the psychic.
Who tells him, you're looking for something. And he hands over his money.
I love that scene, again, because it's sort of like... I like acknowledging that Pee-wee can be tricked, that, like, there is a world
because he's like, I'm not going to give you my money so fast. You got to prove to me you know what
you're looking for something. And
he just silently hands over.
Al and Mo. That's funny.
Right. The basement of the Alamo is where the bike is. And thus, like... Right. And here, now the movie, the stakes are set.
Yeah.
They're high for him. And it's just one thing he's got to do. He's got to get to the basement of the Alamo to find this bike. Right. And then it becomes like my favorite...
It's a road movie.
Right. My favorite structure for a comedy.
Just like road movie, meets various people. It's vignettes.
Yeah. That's my favorite. Like fucking Finding Nemo, fucking Midnight Run, you know? Mm-hmm. Like any sort of like picaresque journey road movie, I love. If the segments are fun. Plane, Trains, and Automobiles.
Good movie.
My Beloved Due Date, the darkest comedy of the 2000s, 2010s.
Yep.
Weird movie.
Hey, Griffin, let's talk about Talkspace.
I know what you are, but what am I?
Well, I am talking about an online therapy company that lets you message licensed therapists from anywhere at any time.
Yeah, I know what you are, but what am I?
All you need is a computer with an internet connection or the Talkspace mobile app, and you can improve your mental health even if you've had trouble making time for it in the past.
I know what you are,
doing.
But what am I? This is what I'm doing. I'm proving that you don't want to end up with some Pee-wee Herman giving you therapy.
Sure.
That's not a good sounding board.
No, they're just saying one phrase to you over and over again.
He's not listening. He's just telling you.
I would say, not sound medicine.
Absolutely not.
Well, if you can't imagine fitting anything else into your life at Talkspace, you just have to send your therapist a message on the app.
Right. Anytime your bike gets stolen, you reach out.
Sure.
You go, I need to go to the Alamo. You can communicate with them on the road.
Yep. You can just send them a message, chat about life, talk about everyday challenges like the stuff you're getting into.
Jailbird you just met,
Anytime
a lonely
you want.
waitress who dreams of Paris. You can tell your therapist as you travel all these details.
Because therapy isn't just about like your innermost thoughts or digging into childhood memories. It's getting stuff off your chest. It's
a big part.
Practical everyday strategies for stress management, living a happier life, and so maybe you miss your bike. Talk about it to someone.
Right. Not everyone has a podcast they can use to get stuff off their chest. And Talkspace is like a good alternative to that.
All right. So the Talkspace platform has over 2,000 licensed therapists who are experienced in addressing life challenges that we all face.
Humble brag.
To match with a perfect therapist for a fraction of the price of traditional therapy, go to Talkspace.com/check.
Oh.
And use the code CHECK to get $45 off your first month and show your support for this show. That's check and Talkspace.com.
That makes sense.
Check.
So I have to check my Wi-Fi router just to make sure the internet's up, and then it will automatically.
I mean, that is true that you should do that, but then you should.
But then the discount will be put in
no.
effect.
You then have to use promo code CHECK at Talkspace.com/check.
Okay. Well, I know what you are, but what am I?
I love the Americana though, nature of the vignettes.
Yes.
Like even I love Ghost Trucks.
Ghost Truck is amazing.
That is
Obviously,
it's Large March.
Large March rules.
It's very much like, I love that it's like, this is sort of the mythology of like the American road.
Yeah.
Where it's like, here's the sad waitress at the diner.
The crazy
here's
killer.
the cop on the run.
Yep.
Here are the hobos in the train.
Yeah.
You're putting Pee-wee in like recognizable tropes of like Americana.
This is true.
And all these characters are played really straight, which I like.
That's why it works.
Like even.
But then I like that, what's it called? Mickey,
Yes.
Is like, look, I like you, Pee-wee. Like, he's come around on Pee-wee.
What I love, like
Right.
Paddington, the Paddington effect of like everyone in the town is like, you've saved me.
Right.
Makes sense because Paddington helps people. But somehow everyone is just transformed by being next to Pee-wee, even though he doesn't do anything for them.
Well, Pee-wee helps with the cop stop.
Yes.
It's funny when they cut to him just dressed as a lady.
Right.
Both of them dressed.
Well, and the bit I like, because, watching this, you go like, is this going to be like uncomfortable watching like a cross-dressing bit? Is this something that's going to hold up? But
No.
the bit is that he gets so into the character.
Right.
Like, that's what's funny is the bit is he develops a very specific character.
Well, also,
and he won't drop it even after they get past the checkpoint.
And obviously, also the funny bit is that they are 2 yards from the checkpoint, and Pee-wee's like, I know what we'll do, and they cut. I mean, that's just funny.
Yes.
But also that he's wearing this like insanely unflattering like sweater cape, and the cop is like, I just wanted to take a look at you. Yeah, nice outfit. Like it's like the worst outfit.
Hey, Pee-wee. Hey, Pee-wee.
Yep.
I just want to take another look at you.
With pleasure.
With pleasure.
I think you should do him more.
The movies.
Did you watch it?
I did. It's crazy. He says the movies 6 times.
Now, I was wrong that he literally began saying the movies, but it's like the third word.
Yes.
I think he says everyone loves the movies.
Everyone loves the movies.
And then he literally just introduces movies.
Yes. The magic of the movies.
He doesn't pivot out of that to like, anyway, best supporting actor. He's just like, and now we celebrate the movies.
The movies.
Oh, God.
Um,
People really responded to the movies.
No, but I love that, like, Pee-wee doesn't, like, reform Mickey.
No.
But Mickey is like, I can't drag you down with me, Pee-wee.
Right.
That off the side of the road thing is so funny just because it becomes them in an abyss of black.
Right.
Like, it becomes so stylized suddenly, and then, of course, the convertible hood saves them, and Mickey kicks him out.
Yeah.
Then the next stop is Simone at the diner.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Which I just love how it's like, here's this weird, like, Alice doesn't live here anymore.
Oh, no. Next is Large Marge, then it's the...
Right. Right, because Simone is the waitress at that diner.
Right.
Yes, right.
Right. But Large Marge is great. Obviously, Large Marge. We stand for Large Marge.
Yes.
We stand for a legend.
Yes.
Alice Nunn.
Alice Nunn.
Who died like not long after making this
really?
movie. Yep.
This is also the first example of Tim Burton making a human being look like a Tim Burton drawing.
Right.
Like the way he mops up her hair. Right. No one else in this movie looks like a Tim Burton drawing.
Right.
You see the touches of his sensibility, but it's very much the main aesthetic is the Pee-wee aesthetic, the sort of 50s.
But then once in a while, you get this.
Well, obviously the stop motion scream phase.
Thing.
Yes.
Then there's that fantasy with the weird windows they're walking through. What's it called? Oh,
yes.
Fuck. What am I remembering here?
You're talking about the nightmare he has with the dinosaur.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like that's where Tim Burton's like, let me run wild.
That's the expressionistic.
Right.
That's very much in line with Vincent.
Yeah.
There's the great animated just his eyes in the dark, where he's trying to figure out where he is,
right.
And then he turns on his headlight goggles, and he's surrounded by taxidermied animals. I love that it's like a quick enough shot that they hope you won't notice that most of them are taxidermied. Like the less dangerous animals are alive, and then there's just like a stuffed lion and a bear roaring in his face.
How many times have you seen this movie?
I couldn't even tell you.
Okay, yeah.
Because
you're giving me details where I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess so. Right. Yeah.
I watched it so many times because it's just one of these movies where I was just like, I remember as a kid, I was often so literal minded that I wouldn't get a lot of comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like see something and I'd stop my dad and my mom and be like, what's the joke there? Can you explain that to me?
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, the joke is the reversal of this.
Right.
Which probably is why my brain turned out the way it did. Because I like dissected every single frog when I was 5.
I understand.
But this was one of those movies where, like, you know, I see this 8 or 9 or 10, whatever age it was, and I was just like, inherently, all of this is funny to me. Mm-hmm. There's no explanation. There's no logic to it. But every
hook it to my veins. This is it.
Right. It's like enough of like the Looney Tunes, like sort of anarchy, sort of just combined with like doing funny voices with your friends on a playground. Like, there's something just about like Pee-wee, just like, you know, it's just energy. But I like that Simone has this like real pathos to her. She's this like, you know, the diners tell him that Large Marge died 10 years ago. I like that they repeat the exact same monologue to him that she just did. And Simone is this woman who dreams of Paris.
Yeah.
Pee-wee doesn't have any money. She makes him wash the dishes. And then she asks him if he can watch the sunset with her. And I love this like very like sweet romantic thing where they sit in the mouth of the dinosaur.
It's cool. It just looks nice.
And watch the sunset.
It's a nice color.
She talks about her bad abusive boyfriend. She talks about her dreams of her life. And Pee-wee tells her that like she has to go and like live them. The boyfriend, meanwhile, sees them.
Andy.
Here's her talking about the butt. Everyone has a big butt, and your butt's one of the biggest I've ever seen, Simone. He pulls off the fake bone and chases Pee-wee.
It's funny.
Yeah.
He looks like Paul Bunyan.
Yeah.
He looks like Paul Bunyan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just remember even like at a young age being like, I like that Simone actually matters, that she's not treated as a joke.
Sure.
You know?
Simone played by Diane Salinger.
Yeah, she rules.
She does rule.
And then the next is the biker bar. See, for how much I remember.
Yes, the next is the biker bar. Of course, the next is tequila, right? Because then you got to get to the Alamo, which is like sort of directly connected.
Yes.
This is my favorite part. This is the best part.
Yeah, I mean, this is like
it makes me very happy.
Yes.
I don't know how else to describe it.
And
I
also,
love the bikers.
Yeah.
The guys like are all playing it perfectly.
You know who the head female biker is? The one with the red hair?
No.
Elvira.
Oh my God.
Mm.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're playing it just like caricatures of bikers, but they're still kind of scary.
That's the thing. Genuinely menacing, so the tension is actually there.
Yeah.
Right.
And once again, you can't explain what this bit is. He walks into a biker bar.
Right.
Tries to like ask everyone to quiet down.
Right.
They all
get mad.
stare at him.
So right now I'm like, I get it. He doesn't belong in the biker bar.
Okay.
They're a bunch of
Very
tough guys.
clear
I
comedic
get it.
setup.
I get it.
So they're threatening to murder him. Elvira comes with the knife, and he's like, "Don't I get a final request?"
Right.
And you're
He
like,
also knocked over some motorcycles.
yes,
Which is funny.
which he also does at Chuck's bicycle shop. He keeps on knocking them over
it's
like
the same
dominoes.
gag, and yet it still works.
Still funny. Especially because you have to think about like the reset time after one take of like
Jesus
PAs
Christ.
coming
Yes.
to turn everything back over. But you go, okay, so what's the logical bit here now? The bit is either like he appeals to them and does something that would like show that he's a real biker,
Right.
Or he tries to intimidate them and pretend
Or
to be
he
a tough guy.
wins a race, something like this.
Right. He's going to exist within their world and try to prove his relative.
No.
No, he just
Puts on high heels.
Well, first, right, he asked the busboy silently for his wedge heels.
Yep.
Which I love that
His
he
wedge
shrinks
boots.
down.
Yes. And then just stands up on the table, presses. Well, first he puts tequila on the jukebox.
Yep.
And then just does this very joyous dance.
Yep.
It's not an incredibly complicated.
Nope, not at all. It's not like It's not like Napoleon Dynamite where he does like a big thing.
The bit is that it's so impressive that he's like choreographed this much of it.
And so it's just like, and he's sort of like shuffling around, and it's funny.
It's the right song.
Right.
And it is like kind of the movie in a microcosm where you're like, I don't know why this is funny.
What does this have to do with anything?
And also, why are the bikers falling for this? Because who wouldn't fall for this? This is charming.
It's charming.
And it's like the cutaways to them, like where at first they're just like, what is, I don't like this. And then as like the song progresses, they're like totally on board.
Yes.
It's so great.
Right. And that's where like Burton's really like keyed in as a comedic filmmaker. It's like the stuff that isn't on the page, but that he knows like, what will make the sequence work is having those reactions be just precise, having the windup of the sequence be like really tense and all of that sort of stuff.
Right.
Walks out of there, the bikers love him now.
I'm just watching it.
They give him a motorcycle and he immediately crashes it.
Yep, that's funny.
And then they hard cut to him in the hospital?
Yeah.
Right, that's his nightmare sequence.
Yeah.
Right.
Then he makes it to the Alamo.
He makes it to the Alamo, and Jan Hooks, one of my favorite comedic actors
Love
ever.
Jan Hooks.
Never had the career she should have had.
Yeah,
She did Designing Women after she left SNL.
Yeah, she was on Third Rock from the Sun a lot.
She ended up being on 30 Rock as Jenna Maroney's mom. And
that's just like a couple
young.
Episodes.
Yeah,
well,
and at that point, she hadn't been
sad.
on screen in like 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
She's got her one really good scene in Batman Returns. I just think she's one of the best. If you
I
ask
love
me,
Jan Hooks.
when I like do
she's
my
a great voice actor too. Like she would do The Simpsons sometimes, and so she's great.
When I do my idol, like fantasy roster, draft your best SNL cast ever, I always include Jan Hooks.
Sure,
as not an obvious one, but someone who is just so
she's
fucking
great.
Valuable on that show. And she's just playing like the ultimate
tour guide, ridiculous.
Right.
I don't know, like
also
sunshiny,
Texas,
down homey, kind of like
but performative down home,
super polite to the point of annoyance, where she's like hold all questions to the end.
I'll say honestly, you're maybe the best group I've ever had.
Right, that's funny.
And Pee-wee just wants to ask where the basement is.
That's funny.
Pee-wee just wants to ask where the basement is, and she keeps on saying hold all questions, and this tour goes on for fucking ever.
Sure.
Finally asks the question, and it's like, oh, sweetie, there's no basement at the Alamo. Everyone laughs at Pee-wee. It's his worst nightmare.
Right.
No, he's despondent. He doesn't have a bike. There's no basement. This is all a fool's errand.
Right. And you feel it. I remember being a kid and feeling it so hard, like everyone laughing at you. You didn't know about this, like, information that everyone else knows.
It just shows you a movie can be so fucking simple.
We flipped this. The Alamo is first and the biker bar is second.
Oh, okay.
We did. I'm pretty sure we flipped this.
Okay.
I mean, this movie it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. But he sees...
It's because when he wakes up in the hospital is when he sees on
the
TV.
Yes, right.
Anyway,
right.
It doesn't matter.
Yes.
Love the Alamo part.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the Alamo is the best joke in the movie.
Right. He goes to the biker bar despondent to call Dottie. Yes.
But isn't it like once he crashes the bike is I remember the Alamo joke?
Yes. Yes, right.
That's my favorite joke.
Do you remember anything?
Yeah, I remember the Alamo. They'll go, hey!
Yeah.
Cut
to black.
Yeah.
So he wakes up in the hospital and he sees it on TV.
Sees it on TV. It's being used as a prop in like a kid's movie
about a nun and the big brother from the Wonder Years.
Yep. Kevin Morton.
Yeah.
Played by Jason Hervey.
So now Pee-wee has to go to Hollywood, which, like, once again, one of these things where it's
you're like, what the fuck? He's going a movie within a movie within 60 minutes of his first movie? We're going that big? Like,
but this becomes, like, kind of the perfect backlot chase scene. Like, it's a thing that's done a lot. I love it in Blazing Saddles, but this one just has all the elements of like him invading a Godzilla movie. And
still don't get why this movie is good.
Right?
It's so weird. Yeah.
I'm spending the whole night being like if I say I'm like a critic in 1985 or whatever, and it's like I see that and I come out and I'm like, how am I going to sell people on this?
Which a lot of critics dismissed it at the time because I think they were just like, I can't mount a defense of this.
Sure.
It looks ridiculous. I don't know if this
critics were such fuddy-duddies as back then.
Roger Ebert didn't review it back in the day and then years later was like, it's a great movie.
Yeah.
it's one of my Roger Ebert's great movies.
Yeah, right.
And he was not a Burton fan. He disliked most Burton movies throughout his career.
Is that true?
Yes.
Interesting.
Because I remember reading Burton on Burton when I was young and then going, but once again, Roger Ebert gave it a thumbs down and I was like, he's the villain of this book.
Fuck him.
Yeah, he doesn't see my beautiful Timmy for what he is. This backlot chase, which
now I'm interested. Now I'm like looking up Tim Burton. Yeah. He liked Sweeney Todd.
He did like Sweeney Todd. He often said
about it.
He was like, the movies
He liked Deadwood.
The movies look great.
Sure.
Ed Wood, he was like, finally he's gotten a real script.
Yeah.
They're usually visually impressive. He said Batman's worth seeing because of Gotham.
Yeah, but he gave it 2 stars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he would do that sort of argument where he's like, I don't think it's a good movie. I highly recommend going to see it in theaters because the art direction's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And that would be his like review of all of them. But yes, it is one of these things where I don't know why this movie works, but it speaks to these two guys being in the right position and why the other 2 Pee-wee movies don't work, where you're like, I can't tell what they're doing wrong, but somehow it's not just achieving this very specific spot. I don't think Tim Burton could make this movie today. I don't think he could have made it 10 years later. I think this is like this one moment where the 2 of them were really synced in with each other and with the culture and all of that. This backlot chase is just so much fun and just keeps on escalating all the elements. I mean, Conan O'Brien talks about like how he loves whenever they would do backstage sketches at late night. He always had like a guy leading a horse and a person like a monster costume because he loves that notion of Hollywood where someone's like carrying a backdrop.
And it's all just a bunch of like blue collar guys who are like, hey, I got to get the Godzilla over there. Or whatever.
The work-a-day thing. And this just like it hits all of the points.
A thought I had too is all the movies he's invading.
Yes.
Are like parodies, right? Like really blown out. But it sort of feels also like it was like that's kind of what movies are now a little bit.
Oh yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
I also do love that like it's literally Godzilla and King Ghidorah, that they like clearly got the rights and it's not just like, oh, this is like a Godzilla stand-in.
Well, it is Warner Brothers. Maybe Warner Brothers had the rights. Like, is that possible? I don't know. I mean, maybe Warner Brothers is like, I
don't think so because
we got these things. Like
maybe Sony did Roland Emmerich's movie. I don't know if Warner Brothers, and because Dino De Laurentiis did the 70s ones, which were at Paramount.
It's completely
King Kong.
insane.
What am I talking about? Yes.
Completely insane that you know that Sony did the Roland Emmerich.
What are you talking about? It's Top of the Dome. If I know anything, it said it was a Columbia picture.
It was actually TriStar.
Oh, well, apparently I don't know anything.
Weirdly enough. Remember TriStar?
Yeah. The galloping Pegasus?
Of course. They still make movies.
Occasionally. They brought it back
Once
for, like,
in a while,
District
you
9.
see it in front of like a movie.
Yeah.
Like Baby Driver at TriStar.
I always liked that. That was one of my favorite
All the money in the world.
Logos.
You like the Pegasus?
The fanfare.
Well, remember also there was the 2D Pegasus that they would do sometimes?
No.
Yeah. Here, I gotta pee. You guys
gotta pee. It's more like pee-wee.
That was good. Yeah.
Pee-wee, Herman.
So what else?
I don't know. Now I don't want to get to the finale because he's in the bathroom. What is something we can talk about like only now because David's out of the room? Can we spill tea on something? Is there something that would piss him off?
I mean, usually he just gets mad at our bits.
I know. But it just feels like, is it fun to do a bit if he's not getting mad?
No,
really. Right?
No. Because his frustration is what sort of then helps to ramp up the comedy.
It's almost like I can't even get it up to like try a bit if David is in the room because it's like I don't get the same rush unless he's frustrated.
Yeah. I mean, we could do something like really, I was going to say like a visual bit because you and I like that.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
If we like swapped all our clothes.
Yeah.
Right.
But I don't know. Again, David would have to be here to be like, God, I hate this.
I have a friend, Max Skolnick. I'll give him a shout out. He's a great guy. And there was one night we were at a large dinner with like a lot of our friends, and he kept on changing his outfit. He had like a lot of layers on.
Yeah.
It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen anyone do. He had a lot of layers on, and he wasn't talking.
Right.
He's like a really good, he's really good at working bits where he understands like human behavior. So he was like, this is a large table with a lot of comedians. If I don't talk for a while, no one's going to pay attention to me. So if I can silently rearrange items of clothing. So it's like now he's got a bow tie, but he doesn't have a sweater.
Right.
and now the sweater zombie's wearing a hat.
That's very funny.
Things would disappear and come back, and then we'd like look to him and we'd be like, Max, did you change your clothes? He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. It's one of the best bits I've ever seen.
Cool.
You'll never know about it.
Well, I'll listen to the episode.
No, you won't. Illegal.
James Brolin, did we talk about him and Morgan Fairchild?
So he gets caught by the security guards,
Yeah.
and the president of Warner Brothers is watching all this black and white footage of Pee-wee invading the movies.
Yeah.
And he's like, I think he might be a star.
This guy's got something.
How about a Pee-wee Herman motion picture? And then, of
So
course...
he gives him the bike, right? Like, 'cause
Yes.
this guy has, like, control of the bike.
Right.
And makes a special movie about him and his bike.
The bicycle chase has so many good bits, too, where, like, the handles fly off, and then the new replacement handles come in.
Right.
It's just fun shit. And you get to see Pee-wee, like, you know, at the beginning, his dreams of the Tour de France. Like, now you're seeing him really, like, cycle like his life depends on it.
Right.
And it's, like, good, visceral, like, chase shit. Like, you feel some speed on that thing. We forgot to talk about the hobo guy, which is just a really nice segment of him singing with a guy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, all of these people come back for the
final movie.
finale where they're all watching the movie.
Dottie gets her way. She gets to go to the drive-in with Pee-wee.
Right.
And all his friends come there, even Mickey in the bus straight from prison.
Right.
Pee-wee gives him a footlong, which, of course, is a file to try to break out.
Right.
File down the bars. Simone's there with her French boyfriend.
Right.
It's just, like, really nice, like, all the people he sort of touched along the way. But I just like that it's, like, they just were charmed by him.
This movie is so fucking weird. I don't know
so
why I like
fucking
it.
weird. And you see the movie, which is about P.W. Herman.
Right. Played by James Brolin.
An incredibly sexy James Brolin.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
looks
he's a hot
really
guy.
handsome
Yeah.
in this movie. And one of my favorite touches is how bad of an actor Pee-wee Herman is, because they let him play the bellboy.
Right.
And when Brolin says, the name's Herman, P.W. Herman, they cut to a close-up of Pee-wee, and Pee-wee can't help but mouth along the lines.
Right.
Like he knows Brolin's lines.
Well,
and
he
then-
doesn't have to see it. He lived it.
And he keeps on making eye contact with the camera and then like starting to move in one direction but then moving the wrong. It's like really subtle bad acting.
Right.
And yeah, he rides off with Dottie. He doesn't need to see it. He lived it. Of course, James Brolin says the line, I'm a loner, I'm a rebel, Dottie. Yeah. And thus film history is made.
Phil Hartman is there.
Yes, Phil
wrote
Hartman
this
co-wrote the film. He plays a reporter, is interviewing Francis, who takes credit for the whole thing, but then he gets the old ejector seat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the rest is history. The movie fucks.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. This film makes
It
love.
was generally positively received.
It was a solid box office performance.
Well, then it did well at the box office. That this did well at the box office was no one saw that coming.
No.
Made $40 million.
Yeah, which would be like 80 something today.
Well, let's find out. According to Box Office Mojo, it would be
86.
$105
Jeez.
million.
Hey now.
Not bad.
I mean, if this movie made $105 million today, people would be blown away. And Warner Brothers would say that's not worth our time.
Right. That is unfortunately true.
Yeah.
They would be like, well, do you want to make like a $200 million movie, Tim Burton? Like maybe like I don't know, we got some theme park rides here. Like, what do you want?
I try to like explain this to friends who aren't in the industry where it's just like, so why don't they make romantic comedies anymore? And I'm like, because they don't think it's worth their time to make $200 million.
Right.
They
Doesn't
only
move a
want
stock
to
needle.
attempt to make $1
That's
billion.
the thing.
They'd rather lose 500
the
with the
AT&T
potential
guy
making. I know.
walked in and said, like, when you guys make $100 million, like, that's how much we make in like a second in the telecom industry.
And
or
what's so
whatever.
frustrating is you and I have talked about this. We didn't talk about it on mic, but Warner Brothers has had this weirdly good year.
Yeah,
Their
sure.
franchisee stuff is disastrous.
Right, but they had like Crazy Rich Asians and The Meg and Nun.
The Nun. Well, I mean, The Meg cost a lot of money, but that was Chinese co-production.
The Meg was, yeah, but like The Meg should not have done well at all, except in China, and instead did well.
Right, but my point is, you go Crazy Rich Asians, Star is Born, and The Nun combined cost $75 million.
Sure, right.
And each will end up at over 150, well over 150.
Mhm.
That's a lot of profit for them, in addition to the fact that, like, the fucking money they must be making off the Star is Born soundtrack. I mean, all this shit.
Oh, yeah.
That's a future of a studio, and then their new corporate overlords is, like, irrelevant to us.
Right.
Who cares? Make 6 more Joker movies.
I'm looking at what else they had. They had Game Night, which kind of ruled this
Game Night
year.
does kind of rule and did well because it
Did
didn't
well.
open well and it ended up at 75.
Yep. Yeah, I had Tag, which was based on a true story about a bunch of guys who played tag.
Yeah, but now has been adapted to its ideal form. Jack-o'-lanterns.
Wait, I don't know what that is.
Dave Ebert, great comedian, UCB guy, decided that he would carve the entire cast of Tag into separate pumpkins for charity.
Right.
And it went viral, and then the cast of Tag donated like tens of thousands of dollars.
Nice.
So he did like the 12 principal actors and the director of Tag, which I thought was really nice. They're really good pumpkins, too. Better than the movie.
They also had Ready Player One, which was another actual surprise hit for them this year.
Pretty well, yeah.
It did
certainly
amazing overseas.
Yeah.
And it did fine here. It was another thing where it was like, did a little better on both ends than expected.
Right, but
the Joker universe.
I know. And 7 more Grindelwald movies. And...
Look, I mean, have we said this on air?
What?
I'm excited to see the Joker.
I am too. I kind of think
it.
I'm kind of on board. I'll say this too.
I want to see it.
It
looks cool.
I think the design is really good.
I know. I like it too. I don't know what to do with. I don't know what to do with this information. That
and
I
the fucking
that I'm
paparazzi
interested
videos
in Todd
that have
Phillips's Joker
Your
movie.
body language says you're like grossed out. Like you look like you're gonna throw up.
Right.
I mean, look, it's gonna lock the gates. It's gonna fuck. It's gonna be twisted.
I swear to
We're gonna get fingered. It's got everything going for it. It's the culmination of everything this podcast has been leading towards.
God damn it.
It's a twisted DC movie with Marin.
You're right. We should have Marin on that one.
Weird blank check film. It's very much a blank check film.
Yeah, in a way.
And franchisey. Like, it's everything we have talked about in one movie.
Yep.
I'm excited. We were so against it, and the second stuff started leaking out, I was like, oh, Zazie Beetz and Frances Conroy are in it. It's actually like a really interesting, intelligent cast. Really canny actors.
Oh boy.
Yeah, but I just the Pee-wee thing is so hard to think about because it's like, where was the sort of like audience education? Like there was no like, okay, here's Pee-wee, you all get it, right? Like suddenly he was just in a movie.
Yeah, you're
He
right.
had done some shit, and that was how they would just take flyers on people. Because I think really Cheech and Chong was, I don't know, these guys made some big records and let them make a movie, and the movie was huge, where they would still do this sometimes.
It opened to 4.5 million, so it must have had like a very long
Steady
word
life.
of mouth kind of tail thing as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it basically made the same amount of money week after week.
Yeah.
It didn't significantly drop like ever.
It was like a sleeper hit.
It was a classic
An
sleeper
immediate cult phenomenon.
Yes.
They offered him to direct the sequel. Immediately, Paul Reubens said, I want to make a kid show. I see this character connecting with kids now because of the movie.
Yeah.
He makes Pee-wee's Playhouse, but they also start developing Big Top Pee-wee, and they offer it to Burton, and he passes because he's read a script that Warner Brothers and Geffen have had lying around for a little while,
Sure.
and takes to it with a lot of new visual ideas. And that script, of course, famously is called House Ghosts.
Is that what it was called?
Yes.
Beetlejuice. It's Beetlejuice.
Oh,
but it was called House
horrible.
Ghost.
Yeah, right?
Now, to be fair, it's not like you walk into a studio pitch meeting and being like, I've got the title for you, Beetlejuice. And they're like, oh, everyone loves Beetlejuice.
It's an overbearing character who's only in the movie for 13 minutes.
Right.
It's a word that no one's ever heard before. That's the title.
Beetlejuice.
But we'll talk about that next week. Now let's talk about the box office.
Yeah, we're playing the box office.
No, not next week.
Oh, next week is?
Dun, 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 dun. It's our
Are we gonna get-
200th
No, it's not.
episode.
No, it's not.
It's not. You're crazy.
You're crazy.
Oh, did I
Next
fuck
week
up?
is Beetlejuice.
Oh, fuck. Cut this out, Ben.
Next week it is dun 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 our 199th episode.
No, it's like our
No.
196th episode.
No, none of this is going to be in, so stop.
We still gotta do Aquaman.
Shut up.
We're gonna do Beetlejuice, then Aquaman.
Yeah.
Just
And then-
take it from where you were before.
Oh, so it's Aquaman and Batman back to back?
Yep.
That's kind of fun that lined up that way.
Yeah.
That we have like,
Well, great.
The
Now I
men,
can't
the
cut
two
this
men.
out.
yeah, but also like
We were never cutting this out, Ben. You know that.
the most recent DC and one of the earliest DCs back to back. Hello, Fennel.
It is the early, I guess, Superman.
Right. But that's beginning, of real franchisey stuff.
Yeah,
Modern
no.
franchise filmmaking.
No,
starts
next week,
with
Beetlejuice.
Batman.
Anyway, yeah, Merry Christmas. Blah, blah, blah.
So what does it open at?
4.5 million.
What number?
Number three.
Okay, number one at the box office is 1985. What time of the year?
August 9th. Right in the middle of fucking Nowheresville.
These ones obviously get tougher when they're from. Before I was born, I don't have a memory.
Number one is the most popular film of 1985 in its 6th week.
3 Man and a Baby?
Nope.
Was that not that year?
Not that year.
19...
Maybe it was. I don't know.
85.
It wasn't.
Is it part of a franchise?
It begins a franchise.
Batman Begins. I'm sorry. Bartman Begins a franchise.
Terrible joke.
19...
Boy, do you want more clues? I can give you more clues.
No, I'm trying to suss this out. How many are there in total?
3.
There are 3 in total. It starts in 1985.
That's true.
Is it the motion picture Beverly Hills Cop?
Nope.
Fuck. Is it the motion picture Back to the Future?
There you go.
There we go.
You got it. Back to the Future.
Beverly Hills Cop was number 2 that year.
Nope.
Number 3?
No, Beverly Hills Cop is not that year.
What?
I don't know what to tell you.
Okay, fine. It's Back to the Future.
Now I want to know, though.
We gotta go back in time.
Beverly Hills Cop is number 1 movie of 1984.
Oh, okay.
1985's best movies were Back to the Future, Rambo First Blood Part 2,
which
was the second highest grosser.
And
is an awful movie.
And also tripled the gross of First Blood, which is the only good movie in that franchise.
Well, First Blood's an amazing movie. And then
First Blood's like an actual movie.
Right. And then Rambo First Blood Part 2, which is one of the silliest titles ever.
Jingoistic porn.
But but also the poster is he's shirtless holding a bazooka and the background is fire.
Right.
So they were kind of the last one was he's a vet, but this one, don't worry, he's going to shoot a bazooka and it's going to be awesome.
Right. And it looks like they sliced open his flesh and stuck chicken cutlets underneath. He's like,
right.
This is the beginning of me looking at photos of Sylvester Stallone going that looks like it smells bad.
Right.
Any movie where he's roided out and shirtless and greasy.
It looks insane.
Yeah.
But they sent him on a mission and set him up to fail, but they made one mistake, which is they forgot they were dealing with Rambo.
It is the funny title evolution of First Blood,
right?
Then Rambo : First Blood Part 2, and then the third one is called Rambo 3.
And then the fourth one is called
John Rambo.
Rambo.
Oh, just Rambo?
They go back.
I think the next one's going to be called John Rambo. Is that possible?
Sure.
They're doing one where he's fighting a fucking wolf or something. I don't know.
The wolf?
He's training for Rambo 5 right now.
And in Rambo 3, he just looks tired.
Yes.
But whereas Rambo 3 is also.
But also, he does look kind of smelly there, doesn't he? He's too shiny.
But Rambo 2, he looks like an action figure.
Yes, he looks like an action figure. And then they make a Rambo cartoon show.
Yeah.
Rambo's that ignores the fact that Rambo is a victim of PTSD.
Right.
Right. He's someone having a mental breakdown.
But here we go. This is actually crazy.
It should make an office comedy with
I
Rambo
actually wrote about this because remember when Ethan Hawke was superhero movies aren't so good.
Yeah, and then he was arrested. Right?
Yeah, and then of course he was crucified for this opinion by Thanos himself. I don't know.
He snapped the shit out of Ethan Hawke.
And people were like, "Oh, fuck you, Ethan Hawke." And
Mr. Linklater, I suddenly don't feel so good. Go on.
That was funny. 10 comedy points. I went into Ethan Hawke's filmography, and I was like, this guy's kind of put his money where his mouth is, where he's never really done a big movie.
No.
In his career, and he's been in a zillion movies, and some of them have been big hits.
Valerian's the biggest movie he was ever in, and he's in it for a minute.
Yeah, he plays a porn
right.
person.
But his big studio sellout movies are Training Day, which he got nominated for an Oscar for.
Taking Lives or whatever.
Yeah.
And or he'll do a Blumhouse movie.
Right. He used to do adult thrillers when those still existed.
Yeah,
now that they don't, he'll do Sinister, and he did that weird what was it, Selena Gomez car movie? Anyway, what were you saying?
But the 1985 was his first year at the box office, and so I did an article where I compared last year at the box office to 85.
Explorers?
Yeah, Explorers.
Okay.
And so Back to the Future, Rambo First Blood Part 2, number 3 is Rocky 4. So those are big sequel movies.
God, Stallone running the table.
I know. But then The Color Purple was the 4th highest grosser, and Out of Africa the 5th, and Cocoon and Witness and The Goonies and Spies Like Us are in the top 10.
Even the franchises were big and genre films
Police
were
Academy
big.
2 is in there. Ben's excited.
No, below it.
Oh, Fletch. Right. Fletch, number 12. Yeah.
There just used to be such a diversity if you looked at the top 10.
Right. That was the point.
There was a spread. Yeah. So 84 was Beverly Hills Cop, Ghostbusters, and Gremlins, right?
Let's find out. Wow, Beverly Hills Cop beat Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Yep.
Beverly Hills Cop was
Temple of Doom,
the 10th biggest movie
Karate
of all time.
Kid,
Yeah.
Footloose.
See, you start to see these are the years that formed the next stage of Hollywood.
For sure.
These are the years that build the 90s. David?
Yes.
We love movies.
True. Blanket.
Thank you.
Right.
Another thing we love is we hate movies.
Oh,
now, that can get a little confusing You know what I'm saying?
Slow it down.
Because that sounds like, wait, they love hating movies?
No.
We love the boys at We Hate Movies.
Who also love movies, but they also love to hate movies.
The name's a little facetious. Yeah. And they are, much like us, so in love with the enormity of what movies can represent. But they tend to cover bad films on their podcast. Yep. Right? Now, we've had Andrew and Steve on the show.
Yep. There's also Chris Cabin and Eric Siska,
who we hope to have on very soon. But they're doing something kind of funky this month. They're flipping the whole thing on its head. They're making it We Love Movies.
Right. They usually use a bad movie as a jumping off point for some discussion of movies and pop culture.
I mean, these are some of the best dunkers in the biz.
Oh, right.
This is like the slam dunk competition.
Suicide Squad.
Right. Squab.
B-movie. 300.
Yeah, I mean, things like this. The Friday the 13th sequels, the Transformers franchise. Right, I mean, these are guys who have the courage to do 5 episodes on the Transformers franchise. But this month, they're doing We Love Movies, so they're tackling some of their favorite movies ever. That's the criteria. Movies they love. Back to the Future.
It's Wonderful Life.
Now, Terminator 2, we've covered on this podcast.
Sure.
Bartman. 1989's Bartman.
We all know him.
A film we're about to cover. They're covering it this month as well.
Oh, can you contact the attorney? Contact the lawyer to sue them?
Sounds like we got another cracked movie club situation on our hand.
No, I can't wait to hear their Bartman episode.
No, and the thing is, they're also celebrating it on their Patreon. You know? So you're getting subscriber-only episodes on
Star
Wars, a movie we've covered. Trek.
We've chatted about that one.
The Wrath of Khan.
Good one.
Commentary to the Schwarzenegger classic Commando, one of their favorites.
Yep.
And then they're throwing in some bad movies as well. Ready Player One.
Oh, yeah. Their Patreon, they've got Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance, Man of Steel,
Jurassic World. I mean, these are things that come up a lot on our show.
They've also got a monthly Star Trek show called The Nexus, which covers the original series and The Next Generation, which I really like.
And animation.
Star Trek's great.
Animation Damnation, which covers random episodes of Saturday morning cartoons, which I really like because I am a baby.
That's right. Anyway, you can subscribe to We Hate Movies on iTunes or Google Play, and you can check out their Patreon at www.patreon.com/WeHateMovies.
They're great guys.
Anyway, after that long digression,
yes.
Number 2 at the specific box office is a movie I've literally never heard of, so I'm going to have to look up what it is. Oh, I have heard of this movie. Mm-hmm. Well, it's a comedy. It's starring one of Ben's faves, I think.
It's not a Chevy.
No.
Jim Belushi?
No.
Uncle Buck himself.
John Candy.
Who
is Harry Crumb?
No. Weird movie. That's a weird movie.
Not Great Outdoors, is it?
I don't. Did you know this movie?
Already came up.
Never heard of it.
Directed by Carl Reiner.
But John Candy, is he the only above the title guy?
Yep.
It's directed by Carl Reiner?
I'll give you the tagline.
Yeah.
John Candy is about to face the most devastating experience known to man, the family vacation.
What the fuck is this movie?
It made $25 million.
What's it called?
Summer Rental.
Oh, wow.
That's right. He's rented a house in the summer. What will John Candy do next?
For that to exist post National Lampoon's Vacation
I just found out what this movie is.
What?
This movie
rents a season?
Yeah, he goes on vacation with his family. That's the plot.
Yeah.
This film was based on a summer holiday taken by Bernie Brillstein.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Based on a real vacation.
My vacation was interesting. You should make a movie, Dad.
He literally is like, look, I'm a fat guy with a bunch of kids. Being heavy on the beach is no fun. So I guess he just called someone and was like, do a movie about how I didn't like being fat on vacation.
That's how, I don't understand. The Ron Howard Vince Vaughn movie, The Dilemma.
Yeah.
Is based off of Brian Grazer being like, yeah, my friend's wife is cheating on him. I can't decide whether to tell him or not.
Right.
Make a movie of that. Here's $75 million. These dumb fucking bubble Hollywood executives who are like, the thing I just experienced is so interesting. Let's attach the biggest comedy stars alive to it.
Director Carl Reiner said, quote,
Carl Reiner directed that.
Like a small, beautiful painting in a large frame, John is a handsome guy in a larger frame than is necessary. What's he talking about?
I don't know.
He's just saying John Candy's fat.
Yeah, he is a handsome guy. He's got a nice face.
He is, I agree. But he's just kind of saying, he's a real handsome guy. He's just kind of big.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, Carl Reiner. Is that breaking news?
Roger Ebert's review of Paul Blart Mall Cop, which is from his later, more generous years,
Sure.
where he gave it like 3.5 stars, and he was like, "There's some like intelligence to the visual language here at the beginning of the film, where he's meant to be buffoonish. They film him in low angles that play up Kevin James's rotundness." But later in the film, as he becomes more heroic and is chasing people on his Segway, they go to higher angles that show off that actually he has a pretty solid jawline. I just remember that constantly, that he was very impressed with how they made
the shot selection.
They make him look less fat as the movie went on. That's all he was saying, but he like really got into it. He devoted like a graph to it. R.I.P. Roger Ebert.
R.I.P.
Enemy of Tim Burton.
Number 4 is another comedy. There's a lot of comedies.
Yeah, people are yucking it up in 1985.
Ben, have you seen this movie? Do you like this? Of course you've seen it.
Love it.
Was this like a Comedy Central man stuff?
No, it's another of his icons. You already mentioned him.
Chevy?
It's Chevy.
It's not Fletch.
No.
Because obviously we know Ben's seen Fletch.
Right.
Spies Like Us?
No.
This is
Solo Chevy?
I don't even know. No, it's not.
It's not a solo. I mean, he's with people.
It's hard to give clues.
Very hard.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's not a vacation movie, is it?
it is a vacation movie.
So it's European?
Yes.
Yeah.
Directed by?
Amy Heckerling.
That's right.
Who we'll hopefully cover someday.
I think so.
Interesting career.
Very interesting career. Number 5 is a very good movie. I like this movie. It's a horror comedy.
Casper, A Spirited Beginning.
No.
Now, wait a second. That's not what it is at all.
Okay, 1995, it's a very good horror movie. Is it, I'm getting my years wrong here. Is it a sequel or is it an
Original. It does have a sequel and then much later a remake.
Only had one sequel.
Just the one. The sequel was a huge bomb.
Sequel was a huge bomb. And how was the remake?
I like it. It stars one of my boyfriends.
Not Colin.
Yes, Colin.
It stars Colin?
Mm-hmm.
It's a sequel. It's a horror movie starring Colin.
He only really, as far as I know, made one horror movie.
Oh, yes. A movie I like. Although, and I know this is sacrilege and I'll get dragged for this, I think the remake is better.
I like them both.
The movie's Fright Night.
Fright Night.
Fright Night. I like both of them, but I really like, you know what? Because I think Colin's really fun.
Colin is
He got
great.
I gave him a Best Supporting Griffey that year.
Yeah.
Nomination, not win. But he's great in that movie. That movie's really good.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best movie Craig Gillespie has directed by a mile. By a nautical mile.
Yeah, and do you know what the second one is? Second best movie?
Lars and the Real Girl?
No.
Mr. Woodcock?
No.
What?
The Finest Hours, baby.
Oh, I forgot that movie
Those
exists.
hours, they fine.
I forgot.
Talk about
That
a
movie
nautical
exists.
mile.
Yeah.
We got to get over the bar.
I can't believe I haven't seen that
We got to
movie.
get this fucking boat over the fucking bar.
Yeah.
That's like that whole movie is just Boston accents being yelled about getting over a sandbar. It's great. I love that movie.
Called The Finest Hour. I looked it up. 123 minutes. Who are the guys? What are they even? Where did they get off?
Jesus Christ. I mean, the reason we went long on this is because we were not long on the movie. We were short. Yeah. What do you say about Pee-wee? It's a masterpiece that's very strange.
Yeah. How long was this ep?
We haven't even hit 90 minutes, baby.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's crazy. We were efficient. Look what happens when we don't bring a guest in. We're lean. We're no John Candies.
So what's up with you?
What's up with me?
Well, I wanted to say,
Weird
Weird Science.
Weird Science is number 6.
Oh, yeah.
Love that movie.
Sure.
Yeah.
I have a feeling, though, if I would watch it
You'd
today,
feel dodgy.
I would
No.
feel
You'd feel
pretty
dodgy.
gross.
Yeah.
Real Genius, number 7. It was really just, they would just dump all the comedies in
Yeah.
August.
Yeah, clearly.
Cocoon is still going. Follow That Bird, which I've seen many times. The
A very odd film.
very strange, kind of creepy.
Kind of feels like it was directed by Tim Burton.
It was
A
directed
very-
by Ken Kuipis.
I'm
or
aware.
whatever
Director, if he's
Pappas.
just not that into you.
That's right.
But it has a very ominous.
Well, doesn't it end with Big Bird like putting his feather on the Egyptian like death
Yes.
thing, the scale?
Also, the middle of the movie is he gets imprisoned by a traveling circus run by Randy Quaid, and he gets so depressed that he literally turns blue and then becomes their central
That's
act,
right.
which is the blue bird. And he's a giant, sad blue bird in a cage singing songs of sorrow.
wow.
And it's about him being relocated, that they're like, you don't belong here with these humans, you fucking bird.
You know what 10 is?
What's 10? Follow That Bird, I'd love to do an entire miniseries about.
Yeah, let's definitely never do that.
Do you think it helps that someone cool is directing the Sesame Street movie?
There's a Sesame Street movie.
They're doing a Sesame Street movie, but someone cool is directing it.
Who? Hong Sang-soo.
Yes. Tell me what number 10 is and I'll look this up. Oh, I'm sorry. Quickly, John Braylock texted me.
Cool.
Oh, man, I agree with you so hard about A Star is Born.
Oh, whatever.
As
Get
goes
outta
Bray,
here.
so goes the nation.
That's actually rarely true. Love you, Braylock. All right, number 10 is this movie Silverado. Have you seen Silverado, the Lawrence Kasdan movie?
Yes.
Okay. I was taking a train the other week back from D.C., so I put some Netflix. You know, Netflix, you can download a movie.
You went to Netflix and chill.
No, I mean, I just wanted to watch Netflix.
Were you trying to relax?
I was. You're
We're
right.
trying Netflix and chill.
Okay, fine. So I'm just sort of looking at like movies I can download, right? I picked Silverado because like it's Larry Kasdan. The cast is superb. You got Kevin Kline, John Cleese, Kevin Costner, Danny Glover. Yeah. I'm like, Jeff Goldblum's in it. I'm gonna have a great time. And I put it on, and I'm like, this movie's fucking boring and lame. And that's it. That's all I got. It's not good.
My friend Brendan McLaughlin loves Silverado. He tried to get me to watch it for years. Kevin Costner once used Silverado as a teaching tool to give me a lesson about acting.
You mean like he showed you Silverado, or he just like mentioned he's pretty good in it?
That was his breakout movie.
Yeah, I know.
I'll tell this story because I think this is an interesting thing I think about all the time.
Okay.
So,
but do you agree with Silverado? It's just kind of boring.
I kind of like it.
What the fuck are they doing? Trying to get to Silverado or something?
Exactly. You just answered your own question. So there was a scene in Draft Day where they wanted me to go bigger.
Okay.
They wanted me to go like really broad for one moment.
Sure.
And I was resistant to do it because it felt a little goofy.
Sure.
And he kept on saying like, dude, you got to go bigger. You got to go bigger.
Is it Reitman is saying this?
Reitman was saying it, but then Costner was leaning into me and going like, I know it feels weird, but just do it. Just do it. Just go big. You're going to want this moment to be big.
Okay.
I know it feels weird. I know what you're going through. And I did it, and I like felt weird about it, right?
Uh-huh.
And he, at the end of the day, he was like, can I talk to you for a second? I was like, yeah. And he said, my first movie I did, or I think this maybe the next morning he told me this in like the hair and makeup chair. He was like, this is why I was so persistent with you about this. First movie I did, Silverado, I was a lot like you. And I was like, I don't think that's true.
You were devastatingly handsome in that movie.
Exactly.
Like,
right. I'm playing Rick the intern.
Right. He's playing like the sexy young cowboy.
He was like, I was like you. I was some young, funny actor. And I was like, no, you were a movie star.
I guess he's a little goofy in it. Yeah,
but he was also a leading man in waiting.
Yeah, this is
right.
True.
I was like beating out Josh Gad for roles, you know, if they decide to flip the role skinny. So he was like, we did this movie, and there's a moment where I walk out of the bar, and there are two bad guys on either side, and I take out two guns, and I shoot in both directions without even looking at them.
Sure, yes.
And that's like my big badass moment.
Right.
And Larry Kasdan, the director, said to me, after that, you should sort of turn your head towards the camera. Not look at the camera, turn your head towards the camera, and smile.
Turn your turd. Yes, I agree.
My Costner impression isn't great. Whatever, right? Okay. So he's like, you should turn your head towards the camera and smile. And Costner was like, I don't want to do that. And he's like, come on. And he's like, it doesn't make sense.
Right,
you just killed two men.
Yeah.
It's like kind of fourth wall breaking.
Oh, yeah.
Like it feels out of character. Why would you do it? And he's like, trust, please do it. It'll be so cool. And he's like, I'm not going to do something because you think it's cool.
Sure.
I'm an actor. I'm protecting the integrity of this character. He said he went to the premiere of Silverado and he saw that moment where the guns came out and he, as an audience member, went, fuck, I want to see that guy smile.
Yeah.
And he said, it felt so wrong to me in the moment, and I watched it, and I said, that's what the movie demands right now. And if you're with a good director, or you're surrounded by people you trust, you need to trust them when they tell you, I'm looking at the thing from this perspective, and even if it feels unnatural, sometimes the movie demands something weird.
Right.
That's sort of got a life of its own.
Yeah.
And then he linked up to this story where he was directing someone on Dances with Wolves and had the exact same argument with the guy, where the guy didn't want to go big on a shot. I won't say which actor, which scene it was, but it was a smaller part. And he brought the guy to the dailies. He got the guy to do one take the way he wanted.
Right.
And he brought the guy to the dailies, and they were watching all of them, and it was like, fine. And then they did the take that Costner won on.
Yeah.
And it blew up. Like, it just, gales of laughter.
Right.
And he got a call from the local police, wherever they were shooting that movie, Montana.
Sure.
At like 3:00 in the morning, that they had found the actor like drunk and belligerent, having a nervous breakdown in the middle of the street. Because he was like, if I can't trust my own instincts, and it felt wrong to me.
Jesus.
And now his Costner's thing was, he just said to me, like, sometimes you just got to trust the people around you. Even if it feels weird, I know what it feels like to be an actor. I know how vulnerable it is. You get in your head.
This is an argument that Kasdan's a bad director. Because he didn't get him to do it.
Good instincts, not forceful enough, perhaps.
Silverado, more like Borarado.
But Kevin Costner said to me that was his biggest regret of his entire career was not smiling at the end of the gunshot in Silverado.
Not the postman?
No, that's what I. Please, why do you think I said that? Because I'm not gonna finish that joke, but you can insert punchline here. Yeah. But that's what he said to me. He's like, "Kid, that was the biggest mistake of my entire career. Now get me a fucking coffee."
Did you go big? You went big.
Yeah, but you know what? I watched the movie and I wish I went bigger. I truly do.
Okay.
They used the biggest take I did. I won't say which scene is because I don't want to demean my own work, which I already could do. But I watched it and I wish I'd gone bigger. I 100% agree with what both of them were saying.
What do you think, Ben? Weigh in.
It was cool when you dropped the coffee.
Yeah, thank
Spilled
you.
the coffee.
Thank
and
you,
they cut
Ben.
it out and only put it in the trailer.
Oh.
No, I know.
I'd be getting 20 million a picture if they had kept that in.
Yeah, should have kept it in. That's all.
My life would be so different if they had kept in the coffee drop.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be doing blank check, baby.
Kidding me? Blank Check would be
It'd be
on NPR. I don't know.
yeah, baby.
I can't think of what a better version.
Yeah, wait, but what's like the hottest
I don't know.
you can be in radio?
Doing it on Broadway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I guess we could have like a serious channel. That'd be cool.
Yeah. What if we were on satellite radio, Ben?
That would be lame.
It would be lame. Does anyone listen to satellite radio?
No. Like
Sometimes
people,
you get a rental car and you can listen
feel like
to it.
it's only people who want the Frank Sinatra station
And Stern.
and Stern.
Stern,
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
Weird.
Is this sort of a dry end to the episode?
Yeah. We'll tune in next week where Howard Stern will be our guest on Beetlejuice. I like that Beetlejuice guy. I can't. That's not.
I can't really do Stern either. I'm not a Stern guy.
So, Beetlejuice got a big dick? I don't know.
A lot of people. Were you a Stern kid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. That makes sense.
You kidding me?
yeah.
I was
All
like,
right.
yeah, come on.
I just feel like there's like, there's like a solid like 25% of comedians our age
Mhm.
and a little older who like Stern's a big one for them.
Like
and
Gath.
then like
Yeah.
like Gethard or whoever.
Yeah.
And then some people are no, Stern passed them by, but there's a solid
And
shot.
some people, it's all about Pee Wee, baby.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do watch the opening of this movie, and I just moved apartments. I'm like setting it up, and I looked at the opening with this house. I'm like, that's kind of where I want to live. Like, I got to resist. The apartment I moved into.
Do not flood your apartment with fucking bullshit.
The apartment I moved into is like pretty classy and adult and modern. Like, it's got this really nice, like, classy bathroom, and I've been like buying better things because, like,
It's that thing
my
where
shitty,
it almost
like, dollar store, like,
Yeah, it's
shampoo
like, come on.
looks low rent now.
Yeah, you
and
got to
I'm-
bring get yourself some like trace
Right, I don't live in an apartment where like the ceiling's collapsing every 5 seconds. But then I also watched this and I was like, what if I just threw it all out and I had a Rube Goldberg machine that made a Mr. Breakfast face?
God.
I did tape in the bathroom mirror every morning.
Yeah, we're done.
We're done. I mean, anything else to say? Anything
We
else
don't need
say?
to go longer. Let's end it.
I think we should go longer.
No, come on. Just
What
wrap
is
it up.
longer?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Let's do some pickups, baby. I don't know. Next week's Beetlejuice. It's good.
Oh, God, I can't wait for Beetlejuice.
You're gonna talk so much about Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
What's the one you're gonna go on the most about? What's your RoboCop?
What's my RoboCop?
It's Batman Returns, isn't it?
Maybe. Although, I mean, Ed Wood is my favorite movie.
Mine
of
too.
his.
Yeah.
Ed Wood isn't firmly in my top 10 of all time.
Sure.
Beetlejuice
Great
might
movie.
be the one where I go off. It's
Right.
Beetlejuice, not to like front load this, although we'll see what happens at the end of all the revisits. Beetlejuice, Batman Returns, and Ed Wood represent like the three things I like him doing.
Right.
The three modes,
I
I
get
feel,
that.
and the best of each mode.
We got some good guests coming up.
Yeah, let's say who's on the next episode, right?
Sure.
We got it locked in.
Yeah, we got Becca locked in.
Our buddy Rebecca Bolness.
Yeah, she rules.
Host of Classroom Crush.
That's right.
We can't give too much away, but this is a pretty stacked.
Yeah, I was
We
gonna
got
say,
some
I'm
big.
saying we got some big guests.
a couple big guests.
But, I mean, who knows? Maybe they all cancel on us. But we've
Probably.
already recorded at least a couple good guests.
Yeah.
Which is, not to shock the audience, but we're doing it out of order. As
Yeah,
usual.
but we got a couple luminaries of the podcast world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah. We got award winners.
Sure. We do.
We do.
Okay.
We do. I don't want to say which award because then people might start to draw conclusions.
Right.
We got someone
Nobel.
who won a major acting award. Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Oh, I'm very excited for that one.
Yeah.
I'm like the most excited for that one.
Yeah.
Though I realize, we'll talk about it afterwards.
You folks have guessed it. Monique is doing Mrs. Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. Thank you all for listening. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe. Thanks to Lee Montgomery for our theme song, and for Good for our social media, Joe Bone and Pat Reynolds for our artwork. Thank you to, my parents.
Okay.
I forgot that there wasn't another one. Go to
Right.
TeePublic for some real nerdy merch. Go to blankies.reddit.com for some real nerdy shit.
Yep.
And as always, here we fuck.